Deuteronomy is pretty much the prequels of the Bible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all just like space economics and genealogies, you know?
Welcome to Behind the Sins, presented by CinemaSins.
Welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything going on inside the world of CinemaSins. I'm Aaron Dicer, and I'm joined as always by Jonathan Watkins.
Hello.
And Danae Hughes.
Currently browsing Twitter. We
write for CinemaSins and TV Sins and do various other things inside the CinemaSins universe as well. I think I just realized when I start the intro, I do it very quickly because I'm trying to get into it before anybody interrupts me with more outtake content. So like the beginning of the intro every week is, welcome to Behind the Sins, a weekly look at everything.
It's getting faster and
faster and faster every time. Welcome, guys. It is good to see your lovely faces again this week. Hope everything's been well in this current crazy world of ours. Everybody holding up okay?
Yeah, I'm thankful to be healthy. I just got good news. My mom went to the doctor. They weren't sure if maybe her thyroid cancer was back, and she got clean bill of health.
Nice.
So
that's good.
We're happy because not only are we healthy from, viruses and such, but she's also like genuinely healthy right now.
And
we're really
and fuck cancer, really.
Fuck cancer.
Yeah, it's awful.
Fuck it. It is awful.
Ruins way too many lives and families.
That's awesome. Yeah. Awesome to hear, Danae. That's really good news.
Yeah.
So
So we're all feeling really grateful and happy over on this end. And also, Iris is extra happy because my husband decided yesterday to go to the fair during
a pandemic,
COVID-19.
Yeah.
He went masked, of course. Spent $10. He spent $10 to get to the fair. He walked directly to the duck pond where he went in, and he pulled a picture out of our daughter. You guys remember me talking about?
Yeah. No, I know exactly where this is going.
And they said, yeah, we might have a few of those. And they went digging through boxes from last year and found 3 remaining green stuffed bears.
And you bought them all.
And he bought them all.
Of course you did.
And they all have COVID.
He came. Oh God.
So
he came back home last night, and I got to take an adorable video of Iris, quote unquote, being given back her lost bear.
Yeah.
So now she is over the moon that her stuffed green bear tack owl has returned. I want to thank everybody for your concern after releasing that information in the podcast. I actually got messages about like how sad and heartbreaking it was. I genuinely was super okay with this being a lesson of loss, and sometimes things don't come back.
That's what I was going to say.
Was not.
And just like that, all that work you did teaching her about mourning things went by the wayside.
It's all gone now.
That's a good dad, though.
Oh,
yeah.
That's why he's my BFF.
Man, he's a good daddy, and he had happy tears. That was for sure, and it was a sweet
you've
moment.
got 2 backups in case she loses that one, so that's pretty cool.
That's right. Keep those hidden. Before we move into the rest of the podcast, I did want to bring up the Sin Club membership thing because we've been having a bunch of new Sin Club members, and welcome.
Yes, we have.
It's been so fun to welcome you to the family. We had the Overlord, right? Isn't that the name of that movie?
I didn't know where you were.
Am I
going with
the
that.
Overlord?
No, the movie.
I am the new Overlord.
The movie was called Overlord.
Today is the Overlord now.
2019?
Yeah.
I think. It's a 2019 movie, right?
Yeah. So we do a monthly video release just for our Sin Club members, specifically our Peeper level members and above. And so we did Everything Wrong with Overlord just for them. And so a lot of new people coming to see that video. And thanks for hanging out at the Sin Club. While you're there, make sure you check out all the bonus podcasts that we've done. If you're a fan of this podcast and the Sincast, we have a topic that you guys send us each month that we both talk about and just release for our Sin Club members. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. So
and there should say the video is not always just an everything wrong with, which is always awesome if we can get that done. But sometimes it's like we have extra outtakes, and we put together like outtake packages
or deleted sins.
I'm working on one that's all puppets.
No, she is not.
And then we show videos of Danae miming Aaron speech patterns.
That's right.
You are.
That's the $25 tier. Totally worth it.
It's kind of gone away, but that used to be like a comedy movie staple, like the person behind the person, like doing like exaggerated, like acting like they're lip syncing and doing the hand motions for somebody who's, being exaggerated in front of them. You don't see that as much.
Yeah. Chevy Chase is like excellent at doing that. And there's a really famous clip of him on The Tonight Show with Siskel and Ebert. Mm-hmm. And he's doing that to Roger Ebert, and it's very funny.
Yeah.
Well, I accidentally brought back the bonus round, and apparently I'm bringing this back too. So,
well, if you're going to bring it back, the key to it is that the person you're doing it to has to occasionally look back, and you have to pretend like nothing's happening. Yes, that's the key to the joke.
Which does not work for video conference
because I'm
calls.
watching you the entire time mock me. So if you're interested in joining those who have come to the Sin Club, feel free to check it out at Patreon. That's where it happens. Patreon.com/ I almost said Sin Club, but it's not. It's CinemaSins. Or you can go to the CinemaSins website, which is cinemasins.com of all things, and click on membership there. So, but we do appreciate that, and there's some really fun stuff there. And me personally, I've been really enjoying kind of the community aspect of it and the comments and that kind of stuff. And it's just kind of this nice little growing community of fans. So Thank you for doing that.
And we've even got our fun little Slack channel too. If you become a member, there's things.
You
there.
mean Discord?
Discord, yeah, but yeah.
I meant we have our fun little Discord channel. I'm doing great.
I'm doing great.
Let's kick the show off with the SinSide Scoop.
What's he building in there?
Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain.
This is a true story.
We're going to take a look at the videos from the week, the process of sinning them, how we felt about the stuff that we were sinning in general. Still on our nice little Avatar run, which I'm still enjoying thoroughly. We did the episode Zuko Alone. This was a Dicer Hughes script. Danae and I wrote on this one.
Now, why do you think this one was a popular fan pick? Is it because we get to see Zuko's heart, like that he's a good person?
I think it's a bottle episode about Zuko's transformation. And I think his character arc is probably the most complex of the show. And because of that, people really love the way that character transitions. And so it's one of those episodes you remember of this episode was all about Zuko, said a lot about who he was, who he wanted to be, and how that still wouldn't be enough for a lot of people. Yeah, there's a depth to it that I think is really beautiful.
I haven't seen every episode, but it seems to me like what I've gotten out of it is that he's more pissed off than he is like a bad person.
Yes.
He was dealt a really difficult hand, and in this episode you get more of a backstory into his upbringing and what life was like for Zuko. I think it kind of begins to explore, and the Sin sort of show this a little bit with his sister, but it starts to explore that, his sister's like a prodigy and he was kind of basic. And so his sister was, by his kind of really intense dad and his intense grandfather, his sister was seen more of a leader or more able, where he was more sensitive. And also in this episode, I didn't read to be 100% certain, but I think his mom kills his grandmother to spare him, and then she ends up getting killed. Is that right, Aaron?
Yeah, that's basically what happens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good God.
So
what the fuck is going on with this show? You're killing grandmas, and
it's really intense because there's this moment where Zuko's dad goes to the grandfather, who's like the emperor or whatever, and he says, "I want you to deny the birthright of my older brother so that I can be next in line." Mm-hmm. And so the emperor essentially says, as punishment, I'm going to kill your firstborn son. And so, which is Zuko. Mm-hmm. And so the mother, I think, finds out about this, and she goes in the night and kills the emperor and is never seen again. So we just assume she's dead. And then Zuko's father ascends to become the next one in line. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit nebulous. I'm not sure if that's actually what happens because I didn't do research.
I think you're right.
So
I think you're right. I would need a refresher to know for sure
implied.
Too. Yeah.
But the sister's a full-on villain, right?
Yeah, she's a psychopath.
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
she's straight up crazy
that's
girl.
Hot. I'm kidding.
Literally.
We just said literally at the same time.
Literally, we did.
She's a hot bender.
So yeah, this one really kind of goes into, the interesting thing about rooting for bad guys or rooting against them rather is that we're not often shown how they become that way. And so this is that glimpse into Zuko becoming quote unquote bad guy on his trajectory to redemption. And so this is kind of the audience having a chance to sympathize with someone that they've hated, which is probably another reason why this is a popular episode. That and Scram Quackers, right?
This is,
Yes, of course.
This is the one where like he's at one point he's just trying to feed his animal, and then the guys are like bullying him and stuff. Yeah. No, it's sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Poor
so
old
he's
Danny
traveling.
Zuko.
He's traveling on his own, and he's traveling through kingdoms that don't like the Fire Nation because the Fire Nation has taken them over, and so he's seeing kind of the state of things in other places as well.
Yeah, so it's like Monty Python and the Search for the Holy Grail.
It's exactly like
They
that.
completely ripped that off. That's
Yes.
what they
Completely.
did. Yeah.
Yes.
Way to go, Avatar.
You silly earth-bending kniggets. Yeah, I think I remember that line. I think that was in there somewhere. Let's move into the video itself. Jonathan, you didn't write on it, so what'd you think of the video?
I what if like one of these weeks one of us is like, you guys, it wasn't your best work. No. But obviously, I love the video. It was very funny. I did shadow on it and stuff, so I was involved a little more than I normally would be. But the stuff I wrote down, like this episode title is a lie because he's never actually alone. I loved that observation. Why would his ostrich want to eat horse? I just remember reading that and just being like, oh my God, just shaking my head, but then also laughing.
That one got a lot of love in the comments
It may
too.
be one of my favorite
so
things.
great.
It's just such purposeful ignorance, and
Yeah.
yet if
I
you
love
listen
stuff
to
like
that
that.
line, I'll take you to my house and feed your ostrich horse for you. Like it's just it works. It's so I love it.
And then to do the thing about the thing being cute, but then the shell makes it harder to get to the tender meat. And using Abraham and Isaacing as a verb, I thought was pretty impressive.
Oh man.
Yeah, lots of biblical
I
stuff.
remember when we were doing the combination of this one, Aaron and I tend to have a lot of similar
Crossover.
sins.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of fun. Like the Zuko alone sins was a combination of ours.
Mm-hmm.
And then we both had biblical sins.
Yeah.
Different
There ended
ones.
up being like three.
There were three.
Right?
Yeah.
'Cause
I
there were
wrote
some
two of
before
them.
that, and then you do the whole genealogy thing, which is exactly what I thought of when I was watching the episode.
Did you really?
Yeah,
That's
'cause,
funny.
it's like that begat egat, and I mean that's like
Yep.
those are like half the chapters in the Old Testament. It felt like.
Yeah. You're just like droning on and on.
Yeah, talk about like setting something up. My God, the Bible has is the king of like just. Can we get to the action?
Deuteronomy is pretty much the prequels of the Bible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's all just like space economics and genealogies. You know?
But I did like the names too, like Methuselah and
I was impressed with Aaron on that one.
Like
Congratulations
Lamo
on
or Lamat or something.
Lamech.
Yeah, Lamabeth.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Lama, I don't remember, but Aaron, you did great on pronunciation
Thanks.
because those are intimidating.
Yes. Yeah. I have lived a life of biblical pronunciation. So.
But wait,
Right.
you made up those names, right?
Oh, of course.
No.
Yes, of course. The last two I did. So, Danae, do you not realize I changed the last? So this is another one of our combines.
Dang it, I didn't realize it.
You thought there was somebody in the Bible named Methuselah?
Yeah.
Actually,
I
though, I mean that's
definitely
really
did.
not that weird. It really isn't. I mean, there's freaking Nehemiah. So
What?
yeah.
What was the one? What were the originals? I'm gonna go
By
look.
the
have to
way,
look at your-
by the way, Nehemiah, shortest person in the Bible.
That's
Did you know
right.
that?
Yep.
Yep.
Only knee high.
That's so funny. I did not catch that you did that.
No, because you used the actual genealogy, didn't you? You went back in or maybe you had it memorized. I don't know, but
No, I didn't have it memorized. You crazy?
Danae.
My God.
Danae, the
Was
verses
it not
that-
Methuselah though?
Danae memorizes the genealogies. That's the part of the Bible. But yeah, so
God.
you had the original names in the script, and then I changed the last two to emphasize how boring it was and how lame it was.
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. So
Well, you learn things when you actually, do this show, and this is the one of them. That's funny.
But what was Methuselah? Methuselah was Methuselah, right?
I imagine it was. I don't actually
I
remember.
don't know who the other one was. I have no idea.
It happened in the combine process. It wasn't while I was narrating. It is in the final
No, it was
script.
it was in the script. Yeah, I remember it being in the script.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny.
So,
It was Methuselah and Lamech.
Yeah.
Lamech.
And I said
He
Lamech.
just said lame. Yeah, he just said lame.
Yeah, Methuselah and
My
Lamech.
God.
Yeah, so.
Right, because it's boring.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
Aaron
Guys.
Dicer just said the Bible is boring. Just want everybody to...
there are definitely
That's a soundbite.
many parts of the Bible that are boring. So there are
That
also
part-
many parts of the Bible that are very NC-17 rated too. So it's not
for
all
sure.
boring.
But like any book that's like 4,000 pages long, there's some slow parts.
I do remember how disappointed my mom was when she got my answering machine in college. And I said, hey, your verse of the day is Ezekiel 22:20. And she was like, oh, my son has a verse of the day on his answering machine. And it's the verse in Ezekiel where it's like their genitals were the size of horses and their emission was or whatever. And it's like my mom looks up this verse thinking theirs. And I'm just like,
my God. Oh my
So-
God. I almost just went to go look up that verse, and I literally in my browser have typed in genitals the size of horror. So like I'm stopping myself. What am I doing? I'm not Googling that.
You could Google Ezekiel 22:20. That's probably the easier way to get there instead of Googling horse genitals.
Well, I wasn't going to ask you the verse again.
So, yeah.
And I also wasn't sure if you actually remembered that was the verse.
It might be. Is it Ezekiel
I don't
22?
know.
Oh, I
I'm
thought
gonna
you
go
just
look
looked
it
it
up.
up. 23:20. It's Ezekiel 23:20.
Oh my God.
What's the one that Samuel L. Jackson? That's Ezekiel too, right? That he paraphrases
It could
in
be.
Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I think it's Ezekiel 23:20, not 22:20.
Oh, there it is.
What does it say again?
Well, the NIV says, there she lusted after her lovers whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emissions was like that of horses.
See?
Aaron.
NC-17
Nice.
Bible is all I'm saying.
Nice.
That's all I'm saying. Some of the stuff I loved was the slab of meat stuff. That was so great. I didn't even think about the fact that it was being held up by, burnable sticks, and that's such a great observation. And forget about having sexy time with farmer wife because those squeals are a mood killer. I mean, unless they aren't.
Right. Which was your edition? Maybe they're not. Yeah.
Of course.
It's such a good addition.
So I really like that stuff. What about you, Danae?
I really liked you already mentioned the magical sticks being immune to fire, but I did like in the comments people talking about that. Somebody actually wrote that they thought that they were bones.
Could be.
And
yeah.
I was like, okay.
I saw somebody
whatever.
also said if you soak them in water, you can do that. I'm like, maybe for a few minutes, but
that's
not
a
long
thick
enough
steak.
to cook a steak like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and pointing out how do you even get the steak there? Like that's a really nice cut of steak.
Mm-hmm.
So do you just carry it with you?
He probably
out? I don't
hunted
know.
it. People did hunt, It's
Right.
probably...
I would just assume that the carcass would be nearby. And
yeah.
also it was just really well cut piece of meat. Anyway, pointing out like egg snot, how Zuko fixes the roof, and then the one that Jonathan already mentioned, the ducky cuteness, but hard to get to the meat. I thought that was brutal.
That was a combine. Guess which one of us wrote which part?
Hey, Danae can get dark. So
That's true. No, that's true. That's fair enough. Well, and what's funny, you mentioned Quackers. This is, Scram Quackers was from a different episode where I just mentioned
Last
a turtle
time.
duck.
Yep.
And then Scram Quackers
Here
shows
it
up
is.
in this episode. So, welcome to the show.
and a partridge in a pear tree.
That's right.
Nice.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff. Let's move on to regular show. This was the pilot for regular show. This was a Dicer Watkins script. So Jonathan and I wrote on this one. I had never seen this show before. Had any of us ever seen this?
I had never heard of this show before. We actually have this, and then we have one that's coming up in the next few weeks. These are like the first two shows I've literally never heard of before.
Yeah, I had heard of it. I just never watched it. Danae, I'm assuming you hadn't watched it either?
Well, I recognize the characters.
Right.
But I don't know from where. Probably like a meme or something. But I didn't know what the show was called that they came from or what format it was. So when I watched the Sins video to prep for today, because I hadn't watched it until then, I wasn't a shadow on this one. So this is my first time to hear their voices or try to catch the vibe of the show. And it seems like you guys point out Beavis and Butthead. It has that I don't know, it kind of seems like a little bit of shenanigans. So I kind of felt myself leaning into a little bit, like maybe I should watch an episode of this show. What did you guys think of it?
I think it definitely feels like a show that you would enjoy. It feels like a show I would enjoy on some level. I think the humor is just abstract enough without being so over the top. That like SpongeBob, there's a SpongeBob feeling to it, but I think SpongeBob goes even further, and it's a little annoying to me, where it's just like, okay, this is all just ridiculousness. This just pushes that needle, at least in the pilot, to the point of this is ridiculous, but it's still in a world, and it's still kind of fun to explore the world.
Episodes are like 11 minutes. Sold.
That's right. Yeah.
Bring me more of that. No, and I should say I hadn't heard of it until a couple of years ago, because when we started doing the channel, it was one that got requested. So that was the first time I ever actually heard of it. And then I guess the creators, they've got a show coming out or just came out. So we just thought it would be a nice time to throw this on there and see what people liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was pretty funny. I mean, it was very simple, and it was very like you said, there wasn't a whole lot going on, but I mean, what was there was funny.
Yeah, there's a lot of surrealism and just
their pile of dirty clothes or whatever triggered me. Did not enjoy that. But other than that. And then Aaron putting into my mind that the bubblegum dispenser guy, that was possibly like his excrement or whatever.
I will tell you, when I watched that part of the video, I immediately was like, Aaron.
What? I called it Benson seed. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very tame.
Yeah, I was actually
Benson,
okay with the joke up to that moment. And then I was like, oh.
I mean, if that's
was
the
fun.
dispenser.
Like, I like that there was just like dudes in the park, and there's a wizard and a keyboard, and it was so goofy and so just out there. It was very fun. The Beavis and Butthead comparisons I thought were pretty apt though.
Did you guys have a joke in there about like drugs are bad?
No, I don't think we did any drug jokes in this one, but that would have fit perfectly in for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think there's been drugs involved with people watching the show. I'm going to go out on a limb.
It definitely seems like that would be a component of its creation.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that I'm the kind of person who could reach for some of the places this episode specifically seemed to go, just in my normal everyday. A cup of coffee, and I think I'm just about as weird as many people on drugs.
Yeah.
So.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, and you like Adventure Time, right? I mean, it's different than that, but it's kind of the same length, and it kind of has, the same kind of feel to it. I don't know.
That's interesting.
It's a little more.
That's a bad comparison because it's
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I can see the comparison. Adventure Time is a little more fantasy, and this is a little more like it's a little. This is a weird word to use, but it's what came to mind. It's a little grungier. It's a little more grounded. A little more
Beavis and Butthead-esque.
Yeah.
It's a little more like it's a little more metal. like
80s
Adventure
metal.
Time's a little more genre oriented, I guess. It's a little more pop culturally, type stuff.
Danae, what did you think of the video? What are some of your favorite
parts? I had a really
parts?
good time. I have many notes. Most of them are ridiculously illegible because I just typed without realizing that I was typing really wrong words. My first one is just WWE with like 1,000 exclamation points. I think it was the wrestling thing.
Yeah, at the very beginning, the beef burrito.
Yeah. I really like seeing the wrestling stuff. I think it's because there was a time that I watched wrestling quite a lot. And then my husband is a huge WWE fan. And so I just really enjoyed seeing that. The on and on and on and on and on and on one.
On and on and on agains?
On and on and on and on and on and on and on agains. But the ham boning one cracked me up because ham boning is not something that people talk about a lot. Like it's not a normal.
I'd never heard that term, and now that you're saying this, I didn't look it up, so I wasn't even aware this was a thing.
It's an actual thing. It's an actual thing
where people, use the rhythm of slapping their hands together and against their body in rhythm to create, rhythm, like a drum beat or something. But you're using your body. People also do spoons, which is similar, like you're using spoons, but it's just with your hands, and it's called ham boning. And my uncle does this. My uncle actually did this at there was like a family and friends talent show. My cousin Bianca was getting married, and people are coming in from literally all over the world to celebrate their marriage. And so they know a lot of very talented people. So they decided to have a talent show. And actually, Aaron, you were the MC.
Oh yeah, that's right.
That talent show.
Right. I remember that.
And And so there were so many people that were willing to get up on stage and participate and do something like sing or dance, or there's people who are like literally like concert pianists and stuff, just doing these incredible things. And it was this full night of all this stuff. And my beloved uncle gets up and ham bones. It was so fun. And everyone's just, super into it and cheering him on. And he's up there just with his beat and just, it was great. I loved it.
I guess maybe boning isn't like universal, but like that's a weird way to call that. That's a weird thing to call that, because when you say ham boning, I'm thinking like that's a weird fetish that involves a ham.
Well, my sons at one point played trombones, so they were tromboning.
No, that's fair. No, that's fair. But you're saying, but I don't know. You're saying ham boning though. I don't know.
Yeah,
and you're not saying tromboning.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
I guess I'll say this too. The Juba dance or ham bone, originally known as Patin Juba, Gayuba Heidi is Juba, is an African-American style of dance that involves stomping as well as slapping and patting the arms, legs, chest, and cheeks.
Well,
so,
it sounds
that was really funny, and I was glad that that's where we took a cent off.
I wasn't expecting it, and I just suddenly was flooded with memories of my uncle, doing this, which makes sense, maybe because he actually travels to Africa a lot. So I wonder if that's just something that, like he's actually been around, just ham bone circles. I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
It still is part of Black culture too, with stomp competitions and those kind of things. That's
true. I really love watching. There was a show on I don't even remember who had it, but it was like this whole dance thing where they do these stomp competitions. Like a whole, just this beautiful tribe of women that are just out there just making these amazing stomping and like hand boning, they're slapping their body. And
I'll just go out on a limb. Stomp the Yard, underrated movie. I truly mean that. I think it's actually pretty good.
I've never seen it, but I have seen You've Got Served or whatever that one was called. Yeah. That's not the same thing, but for some reason that's what popped in my head, and that's an underrated movie because you get served. It's nice.
Anyhow,
very nice.
I loved that. And then there was a couple more on the outtakes. I remember choking on the I'm a Cat outtake. Aaron, was that you?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Okay. So did you learn about that song from Iris?
Oh, of course. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Where did that originate though? Because I've heard a variation on that was more adult. Not adult, but it had to do with cats flushing toilets, but it was that tune. And it's like I'm a cat flushing a toilet or something. There was this podcast I used to listen to that would play that clip a lot. And then when I heard this, I was like, oh, maybe it originated from this, because I'd never heard that before.
I don't know the origins, but it's from Perry Grip, who is the creator, and Perry Grip is on YouTube. I haven't really looked into it, but Iris loves the songs. They have an album that we've listened to, and they are definitely more like the beat of them is it's like very fast paced, but there's like rock. There's the I'm a cat, meow, check me out, and it's just like this fun little thing. Then there's ones space unicorns soaring through the stars, delivering the rainbows all around the world. And it's like got these lasers that are shooting in the background. It's like a rock song. And I freaking love it. And she does too. So every once in a while we'll just pop on so hearing that in the outtakes, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I understand that reference.
So my introduction to that is through your lovely daughter, Iris, and the fact that she will make you play the song and then make you dance along to it. You cannot... She will not let you just sit there and listen during the dance breakdowns. You have to dance. No. It is very important that you dance. So, yes.
Yeah. And then there was also another song on the outtakes, which I also love, which was from
Homestar Runner.
Homestar Runner, the Come On Fahogwa Gods.
Yeah.
Which is an old school one that I loved. So
I did not know what that was, but those are both definitely Aaron.
Yeah,
but it was very funny because I'm just saying it's definitely you because I didn't really do much. I couldn't get outtakes for some reason. My mind wasn't going there. I did the Knight Rider one.
Some days are easier than others on outtakes. That's for sure.
Jonathan, what about you? Is some stuff from this video you wanted to bring up?
I guess Cindy did. I'm sorry. The Taking a Whiz that whole sequence was just so weird. Like I rewatched that bit like 40 times and couldn't really get anything out of it. And then Aaron just wrote "taking a whiz." I was like, God damn it! and he wrote the thing like I couldn't even think of that. And then he wrote the thing about the zippers too. Like all that was like perfect.
It was so funny. Yeah.
I guess why we have two people working on these. And then we already mentioned that does that mean his head is full of Benson seed? And then the we have poster, we have no poster. We were talking earlier. I don't know if this will be on the outtakes or if this is actually at the beginning of the show. But we were talking earlier about finding Aaron's voice or Aaron finding his voice. And that was one of the first things I read in a script where and Aaron wrote that. But that was one of the first things I read in the script. And it's like, yeah, that is totally something Aaron would say that Jeremy would not, or not in the same way.
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's legit. And Danae wrote that the first time. This is the third instance of we have such, we have no such.
Shows how much I pay attention.
Because I was like, oh, like, because I think it was like we have tree, we have no tree, or we have
that's right,
sidewalk, we have no sidewalk, or something like that.
And then in Phineas and Ferb, it was we have breakfast cereal, we have no breakfast cereal. It's a beautiful little way just to point out a continuity flaw, and I love it. And I love that it's kind of one of those TV Sins things now, you know?
Well, and but that's also very you. Like, that's just something you would say, like, in normal conversation. Like, just to, you know.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
An observation you would make.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, the taking a whiz thing and then the zipper thing specifically, the zipper thing that he unzips a zipper when he's wearing a robe, that's obviously a joke the show is making, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, my initial thought is you have to sin the fact that it's a zipper on a robe, except that that's the joke the show is making. So when I come up against those things, usually I'm like, well, how do we turn this into obvious ignorance and make it obvious that we're being ignorant here? And so that's what, when I brought up the mutilated wand incident of 763 or whatever. So
hey, tell me more about that incident.
Well, what happened was So I like the opportunity when it's like, yes, that's a joke the show is making, so let's make our own joke. Let's make it obvious we know and make our own joke in that moment. So I would also mention the not sure considering you have no ears pops is something that made me laugh.
That was a weirdly drawn character.
Since Rigby just said he couldn't get Skips back from the moon because he couldn't see him, how is he able to send these things that he also can't see to the moon? It's a really great observation. And one of the things you would love about this show, Danae, is there's so much just random singing in it. And it's like this. So he's just going, bunch of baby ducks, send them to the moon. Soda machine that's broken, send it to the moon. None of these things are around him, but they're all on the moon. Yet somehow, there's this rule that they make up.
Oh, so, and I should bring up too your keyboard knowledge, which was really funny because I think Barrett shadowed this, right? Because I remember he was like asking questions, and you were like, "No, this is true. Like this is you were." Like two musicians like going at it, about the realism of the keyboard.
That zoom in is ridiculous. Like there was no effort put into that zoom in of the keyboard. We mentioned in the Sin that there's two black keys, amongst 7 white keys, which itself is ridiculous. But the two black keys aren't even next to each other. It goes like white key, black key, white key, white key, black. Like,
and then there's that one random like giant key that looks like it's about 4 keys in one.
Yeah.
No, they clearly weren't too concerned about what the keyboard looked like.
Also want to mention the apostrophe fun of 80s metal and just kind of channeling Barrett for that Sin was a lot of fun.
Was that Barrett's Sin?
No. It was one I wrote, but I channeled Barrett for it.
Okay. Yeah, that one actually made me want to quit my job. When you read one of them and you're like, I'll never be that good. That was one of those.
An observation.
No, but it's how it was all like the whole thing was coming down just in this great, perfect way. I literally stopped the video. I put my head down.
Nice.
I had to take a moment.
Nice. And then a shout out to the fact that one of the characters is named Skips. And so when they're shown, the narrator just goes, Skips, and it moves on.
And you actually added that after the first edit, right?
One of the very rare added in post sins. It was just like, I can't believe we didn't do this.
We had to do a pickup anyways, I think.
Yeah.
And so you emailed me or something and said, hey, would you be cool with me doing this? I'm like, I don't care. So
yeah, so we
No, I think
How
that's
dare you
great.
try to make the script even cooler? That's weird.
yeah.
And you could have done it, and I probably would have forgotten that it wasn't in there in the first place.
That's right. The amount of times we've emailed each other, I love the sin you wrote, and it's like, you wrote this sin.
Oh, that happens to me constantly.
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
or Danae noted that one where I was like, I just want to, like, I'll go ahead and comment on this even though I didn't write it. And then Aaron's like, you totally wrote this. And,
That's
then
the
you were
beauty
like,
of collaboration.
Did I though?
and then he reminded me of a better sin that I wrote that he left out. And I was like, damn it, you left out all the good stuff.
That's right. That's right.
We'll talk about that one. That's coming up, I think, next week, maybe.
Speaking of the good stuff, let's talk about Chris Brown, shall we? Moving on to music video sins.
And we talked about Rihanna last week, and I know Barry didn't plan this, but it was just one of those crazy happenstances. But I just thought about that. I'm like, how he talked about the lovely, lovely Rihanna last week. Now we got to go talk about Chris Brown.
Songs go crazy.
But do we though?
No, we don't.
Oh.
We don't have to that much.
Yeah, and I mean, whatever. I don't know. To be fair, I've never been a fan of his music. Anyways, I've never quite understood why he's so popular. And this song didn't do anything to change that opinion.
I think it's awful. I think it's an awful song in every way I can think of a song being awful. I hate this song.
It's just noise. I mean, it's just one of those things where I feel like the old man, going, that's just noise.
And it's just noise about wanting sex. That's all it is. And
Yeah.
And unimaginatively,
right,
as Barrett points out many times in the video.
This song could basically be summed up as let's bang. That's basically this song is and that would probably be a little more.
It's the verses, the chorus, the bridge. It's just that phrase, over and
over and over again. Yep. Are there any other thoughts about the song itself?
It's a great video. Like, it's a great MBS video.
That's right. So let's talk about that. I'll start us off this time. Supported by neck tattoos. Made me laugh quite a bit. I can send you to Ames, Iowa. Do I have your attention yet? Was one of my favorite things. Probably my favorite thing in this video, because the line in the song is just like, I can put you on a plane or something, and he's just like, yeah, baby, I can send you to Ames, Iowa in a matter of seconds. Do I have your attention yet? It's like, what kind of come on line is I can put you on a plane? So yeah, I love that one. And then accidental camera I have written down as well. So yeah, good stuff. What about you guys?
I liked how he turned something into thanking Chris Brown for shouting out to music video sins.
Right.
How we've been on the air for however long and have had very little to no controversy.
Yeah.
My favorite was, though, this is less of a swimsuit and more like 3 bungee cords and ratchet strap I picked up at the Home Depot on the way to the party, which that also kind of felt like a old man get out of my yard sin, but it was so funny.
Yeah, it's observational enough that it's not just about the amount of material. It's actually about the makeup of the swimsuit, which I appreciated. It's like
what, like, who designed this?
Yeah. Lowe's swimsuits by Lowe's.
And I do think that as a society we should have moved past the red Solo cup. So I appreciated that observation.
Nice.
I liked the comments that were like, "How dare you? Red Solo cup is iconic," and it's just funny. I mean, it's all in good fun and good humor.
I mean, as somebody who lives in what used to be the home of the red Solo cup, let me just say, it is certainly a part of our history. Did you know that, Danae?
What? I don't know what you're talking about.
Have you seen the Solo Cup factory? It's got like a big cup for the front doors.
No.
Okay, fair enough.
But why would I know about that?
It's here. It's in Springfield.
What are you talking about?
There's a factory.
Oh, on Glenstone?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a newer one because that's not always been there, right?
I don't know. I just know it's closed down, so I didn't know.
Maybe it was open. Yeah, no, you're right. Because I think I grew up. I'd have to look it up.
Anyhow, I thought Danae grew up in the home of the red Solo Cup. Maybe I was wrong. So
I don't know. Well, I super pay attention to red Solo cups, obviously.
Of course. Listen, if there's anything we know from this video, it's the history of the red Solo Cup is very important to our culture. So
super, super important.
I've grown up in the home of the Goo Goo Cluster.
Well, nice.
So,
See?
I think the main observation that I had for this video, the sins you guys mentioned, is it's just incredible to me that Barrett can watch this stuff and pull this stuff out. Like, he'll make an observation or he'll make a perspective or a joke or a sin, like a valid sin or something. And all I am is just distracted by the nonsense and how much I don't like it, which isn't a surprise because I struggle with that. So, but yeah, I was really impressed by how he put this one together, because this one was one where I was just like, I was rolling my eyes like an old lady.
He did a great job too, and I mean, he obviously does not like Chris Brown. We've had conversations about when we've done videos in the past of his, and but he's able to make it work in his favor. The horror, and it's pretty impressive.
It is impressive.
It's not just like us shouting and saying like you suck.
Exactly.
Your mom.
Speaking of your mom. All the your mom jokes in the regular show comments
oh my God.
are so great. I guess as a non-regular show fan, I'm guessing your mom jokes become a part of that show somehow, because there were so many in the comments.
There's so many.
That guy, I did read that one early on where it was like, wait for it. And then you had to scroll down. It was your mom.
Yeah, and there was like several of them, and I don't know why I laughed. I didn't understand the reference, but I was laughing because it was clear that the commenters and the audience was having a really good time.
Yeah.
Well, and my wife and I might love this show because we do your mom back and forth to each other constantly. Like that's definitely part of our like lexicon is your mom jokes.
My boys, for their entire adolescence, have had this thing that happens where they'll do a your mom joke, and then the other one will be like, she's your mom too, and that's just like
we love doing them to Mackenzie, like our daughter. Like that's that's like one of my favorite things as a dad, as sad as that may sound. But no, that when I realized I could do that, and like she'd be like, wait, what? And I can't stop. I did that just yesterday to her, and she gave me the weirdest look. Like, what are you talking about? She's like, right there. She's not doing that.
Let's move on to CinemaSins. I'm going to be honest. CinemaSins this week are two movies I am unfamiliar with. We'll start with Jonah Hex. This was a Scott Watkins script. So Jeremy and Jonathan wrote on this one. I've never watched this movie. I know it's a comic book property, right? It's a DC property. Jonah Hex is.
Yeah, it's based on a comic book series. Yeah, he's part of the DC universe. Just
completely unfamiliar with it. Danae, are you at all familiar with it? Have watched this at all?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No.
So, Jonathan, you're going to kind of have to carry our thoughts on the movie Jonah Hex.
This was the first time I watched it. I don't know what I was doing like in 2010, but I haven't seen very many movies from that year. I've seen like all the big ones, but like I haven't seen anything like lower than that. And like this movie got terrible reviews when it came out, and this was like kind of in a weird spot too, because like Iron Man had just come out a couple years before this, and so had Batman Begins. Mm-hmm. So this just felt like such a leftover kind of vehicle, like something you would have almost seen like in the 90s. Like, the
cast is incredible though.
It is. Oh, it's an amazing cast. It is. I mean, you got John Malkovich as the villain, Josh Brolin, the unfortunately kind of, Megan Fox, much better than she gets credit for. And there's a bunch of other people in this too.
Fassbender's
Jeffrey
in
Dean
it.
Morgan pops up.
Fassbender's in it.
Yeah, Fassbender. Yeah, that I was shocked because I wouldn't have even known who he was at the time.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Well, I mean, the next year was X-Men, so that was probably, and Inglourious Bastards was right around then too.
Yeah,
but it's an amazing cast. It's not a good movie though. I don't know that it's as bad as people like give it credit. Like, as much as people shit on it, I don't know that it's that bad, but it's definitely it's not good. Like, there's nothing good about it other than it's got a nice cast, but everybody's wasted, or just in the case of like Megan Fox, almost to an insulting degree.
Yeah.
Which we touch on in the video, but it feels like a leftover, like bad 90s superhero movie.
It's weird because it was only 10 years ago.
I know.
So that's strange. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the video itself. Danae, why don't you kick us off? What are some of your thoughts on the sins in this video?
Well, I can channel Jeremy Scott's thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Before you do that, can you channel Barrett's thoughts on the music video we just talked about?
Sure. I know how to do that.
We have to apologize to the A-team. We continue to forget that you exist.
Don't listen to this show.
We continue to ask you to comment so that we can tell people your thoughts and then just forget to share your thoughts.
That's right.
Actually, that's not fair. Barrett 100% listens to this show.
Yes, he does. He does listen.
Barrett said, "Go crazy, can kiss my balls." It's a forgettable song and sounds like Chris Brown and Young Thug cut it in 30 minutes, got stoned, then headed out for Denny's for the rest of the night. Then they hired a high school student to do the effects on the video. And that's all Barrett said about that.
That's all we needed. We probably could have just read Barrett's thoughts and moved on. That's all we
legit.
needed. What did Jeremy have to say about Jonah Hex?
Yeah, he agrees. Said Jonah Hex is pretty bad. I honestly thought if they'd animated the entire thing the way that they did, that expositional intro, it could have worked. I also got way bogged down in the hole in this cheek. I got way bogged down in the hole in his cheek and its implications, which I think are many. The cast is wicked weird. Brolin and Megan Fox, but Jim from Newsroom, Fassbender, Will Arnett, Michael Shannon, Wes Bentley. What the fuck? This movie is just bland Western revenge stuff. His only quote-unquote superhero abilities are that he can talk to dead people and crows follow him everywhere, which is The Crow, basically. Too average to be angry about it, but it sucks.
There you go.
The end.
There you go. So now we'll move into the video itself. Danae, what were some of the sins that you liked?
You know, I actually just wrote down only a couple things because I wrote Jonah Hex, shrug.
Fair enough.
It's just like, as I was watching the video, for me, this is not a movie that I'm interested in. And so I really kind of started checking out even on the video itself because I'm combating that thing where I just don't really enjoy Westerns, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, it could be interesting, I guess. But also I didn't really understand what was happening at all. So I just started to glaze a little bit,
sure.
donut style. But I really enjoyed the Gatlin horse gun joke.
Yeah.
Like with the big machine guns. Although I was laughing at the delivery of that moment and then also feeling terrible for the horse. Like, I understand it wasn't really happening. But like, to attach massive guns like that onto a horse, it just seems like the horse would not be okay with that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of noise. So anyways, I thought about that one for a while. The guy in the coffin sin was great because it's like, so this guy is just hanging out, you know, in the sun, and then he pops out, and then I'd like to know his backstory, and then he gets shot, and oh well.
Yeah, that was just one of those days. Like, I actually wrote that sin before he got shot. And then because I just thought it was just such a crazy setup. And then he got shot, and I was like, oh, that's even better. And so I added that, that bit to it. Because I know Jeremy likes doing sins like that. So
nice.
Yeah,
I figured
it
he
was
would
clever.
enjoy that.
Nice.
I also wrote down the makeup CG'd face.
Yeah, that was weird. Jeremy noticed that. I didn't even notice that until he said it, and then I couldn't see anything else.
It was well written because it's something that's like, this is a beautiful woman. Why would she need to not even just have a filter, but like have a CG glowy face? So I thought that was really interesting.
Everything about her in this movie is borderline gross. And not in her, I mean, she's beautiful. I'm not talking about she's gross. I'm talking about just the way they wrote her, the way they dress her. I mean, even though I get she's a prostitute in the Old West, I mean, but it was just like the way they shot her, though, it was very male gaze.
Yeah.
There's always cleavage, and there's all, it's just, and just the angles and stuff they use on her. And then she's basically just there, although she does get to kind of be a badass towards the end, but she's still basically, the only reason she's there is so they have someone to kidnap.
Gotcha.
And
damsel in distress.
And threaten him later. And she doesn't get anything interesting to do before that. So it's just, the whole thing is just kind of like, ugh.
She's a prop.
She's very much a prop in that movie.
I was going to say, I'll take a shot, Danae, at why Westerns don't jive with you. And I think a lot of it has to do with, in many ways, they partially, if not completely, celebrate the masculinity of an era where that masculinity had to do with revenge, killings, violence, womanizing, the kind of things that have become toxic masculinity are kind of the front face of a lot of Westerns. And so they don't often deal with necessarily the negative sides of that. They just portray an era where that is kind of, if not honored, at least in a way valorized. Like it's put in a pedestal kind of environment where those heroes of the Old West kind of thing. So
if there's a genre that I feel is almost 100% male fandom, it's Westerns. Because I know more women than men that like horror movies, honestly. I know a ton of women that love action movies. I know women that love war movies, but like Westerns, it's very rare that like I've talked to, like that's something that gets brought up.
Well, it's an interesting time.
I know a bunch of women are going to comment on this, though.
Oh, sure,
like,
sure.
Westerns,
and we're not saying, we're making generalizations that obviously aren't true across the board.
If there is a genre that is closer to that, I can't think of anything more than Westerns.
Yeah.
I've honestly, just in the last 10 years, have kind of gotten into them. I didn't watch them for the longest time, other than like the common ones, like Clint Eastwood and stuff.
Yeah.
I think there's something like the history of the West that's interesting. The idea that you travel west and the
frontiersmanship of it. Yeah.
You claim land. You make a sheriff. You kind of make your own rules. I think that's like the potential draw for creating a story out of the Wild West, is that it literally was a time where you kind of made up your own ways. And that's just not something that really happens anymore. And so there is something in there that I think I can like be interested in. But you're probably right. That's probably in there and as a part of it too, is that the stories that kind of seem to be the ones that are told, or like the stories that are, what's the word I want to use? Amplified, blown out of proportion, are like the damsels in distress and, that kind of thing. Westworld was interesting. It reminds me of Westworld, which was, Western. And I was immediately like, ugh, great, another Western.
Yeah.
And of course
that's more science fiction though.
Right. But then as the pilot or as what I was watching turned into something that was more science fiction and robots. And I was like, all right, that's different. But it still had that element of people going to this time frame to just do whatever they wanted because it was the Wild West.
And that's what I'm talking about. Westworld in many ways shines the light on what I'm talking about with Westerns, that there's some sort of desire for that rugged individualism of do what you want, no rules, no consequences. And I think Westworld actually deals with that in some ways. So yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's a good observation.
It absolutely does. You're right.
But I didn't understand, like, to this particular show, Jonah Hex, it's like that this is a superhero style. I love superhero style stories, and so I think I would be more inclined to read about it rather than watch it.
Yeah.
Because, it just looked to me, it was a lot of violence and stuff. So I just kind of ended up just watching it and then being like, okay, we'll talk about it on the show. And that's all I'll probably spend on it.
I feel like I read the comic, like maybe a few issues, like back kind of when I was younger reading comics, but I don't remember much about it. I mean, it is a comic book. I guess he is technically a superhero. And I think there are even there's comics with like him and Batman side by side and stuff like that. But it's definitely a little more horror adjacent, even and Western adjacent, because there's a lot of supernatural stuff involved. And stuff they didn't even get into in the movie. I mean, the movie for the most part is, not realistic, but it shows that there are supernatural things at work. Obviously, he has a power where he can resurrect people, but it kind of stays away from that a little bit also. So I don't know. It's a mess.
Some of the stuff that I liked, that's certainly murder. Made me laugh.
Yeah.
The falling on dead ears pun was very funny. The Peanuts teacher voice, actually integrating it into the Sins video, was a lot of fun.
I'm glad that worked.
And then, how dare you? Honestly, how dare you? The makes more sense than Lost. Sin, how dare you? How dare you all?
That was Jeremy, so you can talk to him about it. But I thought that was a very good sin.
It is.
You're getting trolled, sir.
It is a good sin. And then I loved after they said America needs a sheriff. I think it was the last sin of the video, and it was like, nah, we've got John Oliver. I really appreciate it.
That was one. Jeremy wrote like 5 different people down, and I don't even remember who all the other ones were. One of them might have even been Trump. I think one of them was because it was different extremes,
Right. Yeah.
And I believe John Oliver was the one I ended up voting for because I just thought that was, especially lately, that seems more relevant.
It does. I liked it. I liked it a bit.
I don't know if it's going to date well, but
yeah,
but
who knows?
right now it really works.
What else do you want to mention, Jonathan?
You guys mentioned about everything, and I talked about Megan Fox. I will say this was some of the most fun I've had with outtakes, and so Chris and I did, Angel Has Fallen, which we talked about on the show just a few weeks ago. And there's that ridiculous scene in Angel Has Fallen where that guy gets shot, and then the guy just randomly yells, "You got Will." Or they got Will. So when I heard John Malkovich say "fire at will," I was so happy because I'm like, oh my God, we can use this.
Yeah, it's perfect. Anytime somebody says "fire at will" in a movie, it needs to happen.
That might be an recurring.
Yeah, no, it needs to happen. That's
outtake.
Great.
But all the outtakes were awesome. Jeremy wrote the one in where it's the Emmett Brown tombstone, and I mean, I don't know. For some reason, like this was one I was talking about regular show. I couldn't think of many. This was one where I think Jeremy and I both wrote like 15 outtakes. I mean, there were just so many, and we whittled it down to what we had. So
that's great.
But no, this was a really fun one to work on. I'm proud of this.
Yeah, no, it's fun stuff. Moving on to one of the best movies I've ever seen. Just Go With It.
Shut your mouth.
Now who's trolling?
I'm so glad I've never seen this movie. I have never been more glad that I haven't seen a movie watching a CinemaSins video.
Yeah, it's awful. I have seen it. I remember thinking just how awful it was, even in the moment. And
what year was this? Like 2011?
It's way too recent for this to have been a movie that was made. And that would be the case if it was made in 1985. It's just like, I just can't believe this went through a process where people are like, yeah, this stuff is funny. But yeah, Sandler's got his fans. So there are certainly people who do enjoy this movie, and we're not trying to judge you. We're just saying the movie you love is horrible. That's all we're saying.
I'm not judging, but I don't get it. Like, and to be fair, I quit watching Sandler comedies. Like, I quit watching Happy Madison comedies pretty much like late 90s. Like, I think Little Nicky was really the last one I saw in the theater, and that's a terrible movie, which is kind of funny that it gets brought up in this one. And then since then, I've mostly just watched, if I've watched it, it's when he's worked with other directors that are hiring him. It's not like Happy Madison stuff. It's like Funny People or Uncut Gems or Punch Drunk Love. I've kind of avoided the grown-ups and the anger managements and the 50 First Dates and all those. Although I've heard 50 First Dates is good, but
it's not bad. It's not this,
but
that's for sure.
But there's just something about his leading man in these kind of movies that is just, I just don't find it funny. And And he like, you guys joked about him always wanting to take his friends to Hawaii and stuff, but like his performances feel so lackadaisical. Like he doesn't care. Like it's just, oh, I guess I got to film this movie while I'm on vacation, so let's get this over with.
And I've said it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. More power to him. You know what I mean?
No,
like,
absolutely.
If you can find an easy way to create resource, for your family and take a trip to Hawaii and make a movie, and that movie makes you money, more power to you. Now, I would rather it not be like this, where it's blatantly offensive at times. But as far as like the system, man, congratulations, you figured it out. So,
and we go from talking about how poorly Megan Fox is used, and now we can talk about how poorly Brooklyn Decker is used.
Yeah. Danae, you haven't said a thing. I know you're steaming, having watched this, but do you have some thoughts on?
I mean, I watched it and sent it, and it was one of those where when I was assigned it, I was like, oh, what's this? And then I started watching, and I was like, do they hate me?
Is it one of the worst movies ever made? Because it looks like one of the worst movies ever made.
I mean, I was enraged very, very often. Here's what I wrote down as I was sinning. I wrote down, the objectification of women in this movie is horrible, and the portrayal of men is honestly embarrassing. This is not how all men act when they see a woman, and I hate that this movie is putting this sort of behavior center screen to laugh at rather than be disgusted by.
Yeah.
And that pretty much sums up most of what I don't like about this movie. I mean, there's lots of things that happen in the film that like are also annoying, but that was like, I don't know. In general, that's the center of what was frustrating for me. But then it's one of those movies where none of it makes any sense. Everything could be explained a different way. It's all based on lies and silliness that leads to an adventure. But and Barrett does a great job of pointing stuff out throughout the script, where it's like, yeah, but you could have explained away the children this way, or you could have done this way, and it would have been
all of that. I have all that written down.
Different. Yeah, he does a really good job. And then just keeping in mind as you're watching this that Danny, or Adam Sandler's character, is convinced that he's going to marry this woman because they've had this one night of connection that they randomly met at a party, where I guess maybe he didn't have to lie to her before they fucked. And so that means that they're like really good for each other. So he's convinced he's going to marry this woman. Mm-hmm. He convinces his assistant to lie about it. And the whole thing is based on, if they do get married, that means that Jennifer Aniston's character is just just toss her away because she can't be the assistant anymore. And he jokes around about giving her plastic surgery, but like his end game here is to either have married a hot chick that he just met, or throw away his assistant to carry on the ruse. Like if you really think about it.
Right.
So, and then just quite suddenly it goes from this ha shenanigans, everybody's lying, keeping up all these lies, to here's your happy ending where Jennifer Aniston and Adam Sandler are together and the children are happy, and the character that you've been lying to the entire time, she just magically finds somebody on a plane, so she's good to go too. And the very ring that you've been wearing the entire time to lie to women since the 80s just to fuck them is now a symbol of your love and relationship and foreverness. Have fun. Hope you laughed. Great show.
Nothing was thought through. It
was really uncomfortable.
You could. I mean, you can have movies with terrible people that become better. You know, I mean, you can do that. There is a movie here. It just looked to me, and I haven't seen it, so I can't comment. But it looked to me like it was lazy for one, and it was just trying to present like sight gag after sight gag, and just hope that you laughed at it.
I guess the idea, if the idea is that while on this trip, while they're lying, everyone's lying. The children are being encouraged to lie. The assistant is lying. Adam is lying. And then there's this one woman who thinks that she's about to marry someone that she's really connected to. And they completely ignore the fact that they've all been being horrible people to this person.
Yeah,
you know?
No, they didn't think
I guess the
through.
story could be that Adam and Jennifer realize that they have worked together for a long time and that they have feelings for each other. But I just find it hard to believe that Jennifer Aniston's character would overlook that her boss has been lying to women to get them into bed everything before this movie started, the whole premise and setup of this entire movie. It's just hard for me to believe that'd be like, you know what? I'm genuinely attracted to you and I'm gonna have a good relationship with you. It's like it's all from money. Mm-hmm. It's all because he's rich or something. It's just it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
I will say though, the one sin I did want to talk about though, you already mentioned it, was the goddamn it, you just fucking met sin.
That was mine.
Yeah. That's Brooklyn Decker, and if Brooklyn Decker was interested in me, I can't imagine I'd be like, I mean, I would at least be like, oh yeah, maybe I could spend the rest of my life with this. But
the crazy thing is that the premise
person.
is that he's already been around a whole bunch of really sexy women.
I know, I'm just kidding. Well, it's funny too. He ends up with Jennifer Aniston, so basically you could say it's, should he marry this hot woman or this hot woman?
There was a sin that I wrote that was cut, and it's when they're at this party and, you know, Brooklyn Decker walks up and he's like, you must be the blonde that the little kid was distracted by or whatever. And I'm like, everybody at this party is somebody that could be distracting because of how they look.
Except for Kevin Nealon, but yeah.
And so it's like, I don't know. It's like a pyramid. It's a pyramid of hotness. And at the top of the hotness, you've got blonde hair, blue eyes, tits, and white skin. And that just, everything about this movie is trash. I fucking hate it.
It looks awful.
There you go.
I can't even imagine. Like I said, I've never been more happy about not watching a movie.
Barrett didn't like it either.
What do you have to say?
So he said it was based on an old movie with Walter. Is it Matthew?
Matthau.
Mm-hmm. Goldie Hawn and called Cactus Flower.
Oh my God, this is based on Now I've seen Cactus Flower. That's actually a good movie.
He said obviously he doesn't hold a candle to that shit. There are shitty, lazy jokes, racist jokes, which also true, and of course misogynistic jokes. Sandler weirdly plays the role of a plastic surgeon, which makes the times where he's not trying all the more grating. He plays the role of a plastic surgeon well, which makes the times where he's not trying, which is the rest of the movie, all the more grating. There's no reason for Jen to fall in love with him. There's even less reason for Brooklyn Decker to fall in love with him. And there's no reason for poor Nicole Kidman to be messed up in this business. On the plus side, David Matthews doesn't sing Crash in this movie. Why is
she in this movie? What is her deal?
Maybe she wanted to go to Hawaii.
No, I'm saying like her character, like actually in the movie, like why is she in, like who is she, I guess.
I mean, it's just stupid stuff. So she's brought into the movie because she is a convenience moment where there's lies that are created. Jennifer Aniston, I think her name is Catherine, maybe in the movie. She is portraying Denny's wife so that he can say he's getting divorced so he can go out with Brooklyn Decker's character, right? So she makes up her name as being, oh God, I'm going to forget what it is. Devlin.
Yeah.
So Jen says her real name is Devlin, which is the character she then begins to play, based on someone that she went to school with who was her rival, the real Devlin.
And that person
so of
shows
course,
up.
when they go to Hawaii, the real Devlin is there. And so to get back, quote unquote, get back at the real Devlin and to prove that she's made something of herself, she makes Adam go to dinner with her one night to prove that she's, married a plastic surgeon and is doing well in the world. So
wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Totally wow.
So it's almost a way to make Jennifer Aniston guilty as well.
Oh yeah, she's super part of this.
Yeah.
And then the guy that's
Dave
there
Matthews
with the glasses,
is her husband, I guess, Nicole Kidman's husband.
Yes, yes, that's he's there. Devlin, the fake Jennifer Aniston character Devlin, is already seeing someone too, whose name is Dolph, who is one of Adam's friends or whatever.
Yeah.
He ends up going on the vacation too, and he's lying the whole time and saying that he is a sheep seller. So of course, another shenanigan that happens in the movie is that while they're having dinner, someone says, "My sheep needs help," and so there's this whole quote unquote comedic moment where he has to go and revive a sheep.
Yeah.
So
I don't ever want to watch this movie again. I don't think there's anything in it for me. What did you think of the sins, Jonathan? What were some of your favorite parts of the video?
I absolutely love the video. Incestuous, oh God, I can't even say it. Like I remember listening to that. Yeah, I was like, how did he even get that out? Because I never would have been able to say that. I'll just point out that this kid could be describing a kangaroo. That was really funny.
It's so great. I laughed so hard at that because it was like tall, blonde, and has nipples or something like that. Yeah.
Or toned or something.
Yeah.
I paused at that moment. I was like, what could also be described at that? And
Kangaroo
I
is
just sat there.
so perfect.
And it was kind of like I was almost like praying for inspiration, and all of a sudden, like kangaroo fell into my mind. I was like, "That's it, kangaroo."
I love that you guys pointed out she's got glasses and a ponytail because that's always something I'll mention because that's always hilarious. It's like that She's All That thing. Well, it's even in there's a parody of She's All That. Not Another Teen Movie, I think is what it's called. And that's a thing. Like Chris Evans is like they're trying to get Chris Evans to ask this. The bet's going to be that he has to get this girl to go out with him. And he's like, but she's got glasses and a ponytail. Got to teach payment inequality to the young, I guess.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
So great.
That's so funny though. Like when you guys started pointing all of that out, that the boy was going to get more than the girl, and she was perfecly fine with it.
I had to do some research on that one.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, I loved Hey Forget About Danny. Isn't Margot supposed to be at the wedding too? That was funny. And then to be fair, another one I did want to point out though, I don't wear watches often, but I do switch wrists. That is not as uncommon as you think.
I loved that sin. In fact,
I did too. No, it was hilarious.
I'm assuming it's a Danae sin because she those consistency things are things that you point out, and I am dubbing a new category of sin. These are Baker Street sins, and the reason I call them Baker Street sins is because there's a Sherlock Holmes element to them, where it's like you study the clues throughout something and put together a conclusion. And so there's a very Sherlock Holmesian aspect to like the button sin that you've written, this one with the wristwatch, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to start calling those Baker Street sins. So yeah.
You know what I'm going to be impressed by is if you actually remember what you title them.
I don't remember what he's titled anything. Every now and then he'll be like starfish. Wait, what is it again? He'll just randomly say like tarantula.
Pineapple.
Yeah. And then did you just mention the buttons though? The button stuff was funny too, just because that just reminded me of Family Guy and everything else. But
yeah.
Do you think Adam Sandler just gets too tired to finish halfway through buttoning up his shirts? And he actually probably does. That guy is like the worst dresser on the. Well, I mean, he's very casual. He's not bad. He's not a bad dresser.
That's gotta be a Barrett
super
sin,
casual,
right? Because he wrote with me on Extraction and had the sin about why even button any buttons at all.
Yeah.
Like he is so focused on how many buttons you're buttoning on your shirt. Like I'm gonna be so aware next time I'm with Barrett of like, do I have all my buttons?
Well, it's
buttoned?
like Barrett and Danae apparently. It's like, so putting them together, it's just like button madness. Like they're not missing anything.
We can't be on a script together if there's a button issue. We'll just
switching the wrist thing is something my wife, it'll drive her crazy at times. Like when
That's
I've
so
worn
interesting.
watches in the past, she's like, why are you doing that? Like the imprints on the other wrist.
It's for tan lines, babe. It's for tan lines.
I haven't worn a watch in like 10 years. That's been a while, but I did used to do that.
I enjoyed Subtlety. That's going to be one of my favorite new sins. I really enjoy that one. You mentioned the kangaroo, murder and or sex speech. Made me laugh the way that was phrased. The World of Warcraft sin with the whatever creature.
The
Draenei. I was like,
yes.
Obvious Danae sin is obvious.
Yeah. I was so shocked that one made it to final. But the reason it did is because the visual is so perfect.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really looks like that.
As soon as I saw her in those jeans, I was like, oh, she looks like a Draenei. And I was like, oh, I wonder if I can make a sin about that. I'm so excited that it's in there. There was actually somebody who was like, hey, I want to hear more about the friend who has lost half of his life to World of Warcraft. Does he still play? How old was he when he first started? And I actually replied to that comment and said, legend has it he's still in his mom's basement to this day.
Nice. The testicle euphemisms sin, where it was just a list of different testicle euphemisms. I have to apologize. Yes, I actually did think it was funny by the time you got to the end of that, because I think it ends with like, is it funny now? I'm like, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed
Was
that.
one of them Sugar Smacks?
Yes, Sugar Smack.
Yes.
I think the one that stood out to me was the Rain and Vein Makers.
Oh, my God.
Just, come on.
What's funny about that one is behind the scenes, I remember the day that Barrett went into one of the Slack channels and was like, well, I just looked up a whole bunch of different euphemisms for, the balls.
Yeah.
So that was my day. And it's like, yep, just a normal day for CinemaSins.
I think my response was, hey, that's what I do. Like, that's my thing. You're taking my thing. So yeah, I love that. At least he doesn't threaten to kill them, and then he does. Was funny, and a dash of that ism spice made me laugh too. The way that was worded. So lots of great stuff in this video. I had a great time. Danae, what about you?
You guys mentioned many of the ones that I enjoyed reading or writing on. I really liked when Barrett points out that it's when there's a battle between Nicole Kidman and Jennifer Aniston, and he's like, hey, remember when Brooklyn Decker used to be in this movie?
Yep.
I thought that was genuinely hilarious. The 40 cookies thing pissed me off. I just want to make sure I mention that.
Sure.
Like when they're like 40 cookies, 4 cookies would have been fine, but 40 cookies? There's way, way too many cookies in there. And I liked how that one was performed. But I really would like to point out the bonus round.
Of course.
Of how much Adam Sandler could not keep his eyes off of the women's breasts. It was distracting. I didn't know if it was going to be able to be a bonus round because it happens a lot, but not like, is it enough for a bonus round? So funny. I like that we just sinned every second, because there was genuinely, after he and Jennifer Aniston have their connection where they like realize that they like each other, and they go, and then he's walking her back to the room. He looks at her chest for more of that scene than less of that scene. Like most of that scene, he's just constantly staring downward. And so I'm glad that. Well,
and it's like you pointed a light on it, and it like the scene where Brooklyn Decker drops her towel. Obviously, he's supposed to be looking at her then.
Sure.
But like, yeah, no, there was like 2 scenes. There was one with him and Decker where they're just talking, and then one with him and Aniston, and maybe even one with him and Nicole Kidman. But I know there's one with the 2 of them, and it's the same scene. You get like 8 or 9
oh my gosh,
bonus sins
so
out
much.
of, and it gets to the point where it's like, is this Sandler just
Yeah,
Not
it's-
being
fairness,
able not to look.
in fairness, let me jump to the defense. I can't believe I'm doing this of
I'm
Sandler
not.
in this one.
I'm not even criticizing him.
In fairness, it kind of is part of his character as a plastic surgeon. Like
Yeah.
that would be. I'm not
That's
saying
true.
this. I'm not saying he's like great acting at this point. I'm just saying that.
So it's method.
That there is an element of it where a plastic surgeon would be almost scientifically interested in breasts and breast sizes and like
Right.
So
And-
it's a professional curiosity, is what I'm saying.
Sure.
I thought it was hilarious. It was very funny.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, very good. Anything else today?
I did want to mention that in the comments that Adam W points out that we missed an obvious opportunity during the bonus round that each sin should have counted as 2, which
that was my comment for the comment section, which is fine. We can use it here because he's absolutely right, and it's like those are the kind of comments I see in the comment section where I'm like, you're hired.
Yeah.
like,
brilliant. That would have been so funny.
I mean,
if
he
we had
could
thought
have
ahead
been
to do that.
focused on one of the boobs. He might have preferred the right over the left.
sure.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
You never know.
I did want to say one more thing, I guess, just real quickly. There was an outtake that I did I was really proud of. In the movie, there's the man with all the plastic surgery, and he makes that weird, like, noise when he's supposed to be laughing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, Kevin Nealon, yeah.
So when I was looking up outtakes, I thought it would be kind of funny to try to blend it in with, like, another weird sound like that. And I remembered in Dumb and Dumber, it was the most annoying sound ever made,
Yeah.
like when they're in the van.
Right.
And so I asked the editors if they could blend it together, and it came out perfectly. It almost sounds like it's the same thing almost.
Yeah.
So I was really impressed with the editors on that one.
I will say, though, Aaron said he's not judging people that like movies like this, but I don't know that I am, but I do have so many questions when I watch stuff like this, because that Kevin Nealon character and the Rachel Dratch character with the crazy eyebrow, I just want to know why that's funny. Like, I really want to know why that's funny.
Physical deformities in people who look different are funny. That's
To some people.
But no one would look like that. Does that make sense? Like those are like insane depictions.
Well, I think that's what's supposed to make it fun. So somebody who would defend this would say that the exaggeration is the humor. Like because it's exaggerated, it's not making fun of somebody who has an actual physical deformity. It's making light of what if it were this crazy, kind of thing. I think that's
like with the breast thing, there was like one massive breast and one tiny breast. Like
Right.
they just kind of kept making fun of deformities.
Oh, I forgot about that one because you guys did have a sin about that too. But the fact that, what was that? She was in a car wreck or something?
She just slammed her tit in a door and it burst.
Good God. I wonder if that happens. No, that's creepy. But this is supposed to be broad comedy, and I'm not saying it's a very realistic situation. I mean, it's insane, but it is in the sense that like it's real people in a situation, and then you have like these caricatures on the outskirts that are not realistic in any way, shape, or form. I always find that it kind of juxtaposes the scenario for me to the point where it just kind of makes my brain like want to just I don't know. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, I hear what
Like
you're saying.
if it's Monty Python, I totally get it. Like sure, Monty Python, it's like insane. There's all this crazy shit going on, and there's this woman with a weird eyebrow. Like it makes sense in that scenario, or like straight up parody. But like this is just supposed to be a romantic comedy, quote unquote romantic.
Yeah, but it's Adam
comedy.
Sandler.
Yeah, he's always done that kind of thing.
But that's
yeah.
what I think. That's why I don't think I can ever like get on board with what he's doing. Even if I guess I understand why people find him funny, but I don't know. It just feels like that weird. It feels like a frat boy's like sensibility of how life is.
Yeah.
There was a sin that I wrote, and I was glad it made it in. It was the sin about Californication, which silly me, I thought that was just a song. Didn't realize that was
A David Duchovny TV show.
Yeah, pretty
a
popular
TV
show,
show.
I guess. I've never seen it, but
So I looked it up, and the description of the main character is that he's a womanizer, and I was like, of course. Like it's just there's so much of that in this movie. There's so much. It's just it's a gag. Which one's worse, Love Actually or Just Go With It?
Oh, Just Go With It. I mean, I haven't seen Just Go With It, so I can't really give an honest review, but like I would watch Love Actually again. I don't think I would ever watch this.
Yeah, I think I actually agree with you. I think this is worse.
I
For
mean,
sure.
it kinda
And I
has
think
to
it's going to
be.
go on my list now. I've started a list. It's on a Post-it note, and it's movies I hate. And this one goes on there. So now I know I hate 2 movies.
I think what a lot of people are going to say, the people that are going to defend this movie, are going to be like, "Come on, guys, just go with it."
I think that's probably true. All right, let's move on to keeping tabs.
The internet is a communications tool used the world over where people can come together to bitch about movies and share pornography with one another.
Oh, jeez.
This is the most public yet of my many humiliations.
We're each going to tell one story from putting together the content for the week, maybe a Google search, some strange research, a deleted sin, maybe some notes from the script, whatever you want to do. Let's see. I think I'll go first. We mentioned the biblical stuff, so there was a little bit of biblical research. I had to make sure I was getting the names right, and I was pleased to know that I was. But the birthright stuff with the Jacob and Esau, and then the Abraham and Isaac on the Mount Moriah stuff, like it was incredible to me how much biblical allegory was in this one episode of Zuko's kind of backstory. So yeah, I did that research, and then I also researched pregnancy symptoms for the couple that was pregnant, and the sin basically ends with one of the symptoms being not being murdered for your food. That is technically not a pregnancy symptom, but I will just say, boy,
don't touch my food.
Boy,
when I was.
There are a lot of pregnancy symptoms, and there are so many things that pregnant women go through.
I don't know why. I'm so thankful that like my wife chose to do it, but God damn, I don't know how you do it.
When I was pregnant, I will tell you, if someone touched my food, murder was an option.
No.
Fair enough.
To be fair, my wife does that whether or not she's pregnant. But
I've never been hungry until
no,
I was.
Just kidding.
I was hungry when I was pregnant, but then whenever I had Iris and I started to actually create milk, like for sustaining life, that was when I experienced hunger for the first time, like true survival hunger. And man, I was a hangry woman.
You were just like grabbing raw pieces of meat out of the fridge, just biting into them.
I literally, just for medical reasons, I needed to stay like in one place just to recover because my body had gone through incredible trauma. And so I was in a recliner for quite a while instead of sleeping in a bed just after I got home from giving birth. And genuinely, to my left was a bookshelf that had several snack options at any time.
Nice.
So that I could just reach over and eat.
So it sounds like you went through like a bit of a rougher time than maybe like your normal or your average.
No, it's just when you have a kid, man.
No, I know, and I think it's different. I mean, my wife literally got sick every night. I'm not even joking. Like there was not a single night from day one or from when we found out till she had her daughter. She got sick literally every night. It was insane. She would like beg our daughter in her stomach, like, I had a really good meal tonight. Can you please
let me keep it?
Let me keep it. I mean, it was hard. It was hard to watch because she was so sad about it. But she says it was all worth. So that's the important thing, I guess.
All I know is my research many times is fun or funny, and in this case, I was just like, I knew a lot of this stuff, but when you see it all together on the same page, you're just like,
yeah.
Pregnancy messes you up. Like it really affects your body. So mad props to women who have gone through that for life.
Ladies. Hashtag pregnancy's real.
Hashtag egg snot. So yeah. Jonathan, what about what's your keeping tabs this week?
I don't know if this counts for keeping tabs, but I didn't really have anything like I specifically looked up that was interesting. So I thought I'd go back. We talked about in my Beyond the Sins last week, I talked about baseball, and there were a couple things that I found out more information on. Like one thing we got wrong. The Blue Jays, we said, were going to be playing in Camden Yards, which I think at the time they were discussing.
Yeah.
But then like literally like maybe an hour after we recorded, it's like I turned on the TV and it's like Blue Jays are going to be playing in Buffalo.
And then like an hour,
one of their AAA affiliates.
And then like an hour after that, it was like there may not be any baseball.
Yeah. That's a weird thing. Like I've discovered though, they're just gonna figure out a way to get through it. Like they're just changing things every day. Like today they announced they're probably gonna do like for makeup games they're gonna do 7-inning doubleheaders.
That's crazy.
And it is, and and I was talking to somebody about this because somebody was saying, I don't even know if I want my team to win because it doesn't count. They'll be like, what are you talking about? Like it totally counts. Like everybody is on the exact same playing field, right? Like everybody
Which is the problem when you really think about it.
Huh?
I said, which is the problem during a pandemic when you really think about it.
Very, very, very valid point. But I'm serious. But like everybody's doing the same extra inning rules. Everybody's going to have to do all the same thing. So it's like, yeah, it totally counts. Like, are you going to, like, when you're talking about the best World Series champions, maybe this year's isn't in that conversation? But if your team wins the World Series, hey, they won the World Series, man. Celebrate the fuck out of that, you know? But anyways, the other thing I was going to point out was that we talked about that they were still doing the announcements, and we both kind of were like, that's dumb. I will say that one of my guys I talked to on Twitter, one of our listeners, it's at JetsMets3348. He's been listening to us since day one, and he always has these fun threads every week whenever our episode drops, and he makes fun of us and jokes with us and all that kind of stuff. But he said that the reason for the stadium announcements is so when you send up a pinch hitter, he has to be announced, so he can't be taken out after the pitcher has been changed, in case the other team takes the pitcher out before the PH is announced, which doesn't happen very often, but it could. That might be the reason, but I still feel like
you could do
they
that
could work around that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's still, I hate it. I watched basketball last night. The basketball games were last night. The first one's back. I watched the first one, yeah. I think what they are doing is really smart. They're actually handling it in a very smart way.
Yeah.
And it looks gorgeous, but they're doing a bunch of the same like crowd noise stuff, and it annoys the snot out of me. I'm just like, play the game. Let me hear the sounds of the game. But you know what? I'm probably in the minority. I think I am. I'm probably, most people probably just want the comfort of it.
Like, I definitely don't have as strong of an opinion as you do about it. But I think it's kind of silly. Like, I don't understand. I don't understand why they feel the need to do that. But you know, and I also meant to shout out to, just so I can shout out some more about, at JetsMets 3348. If you are a baseball fan, and if you are a Mets fan, which I'm sorry, first off, if you're a Mets fan, but, if you are a Mets fan, he is a huge Mets fan, and he has a pretty awesome podcast called, it's just called Metscast, actually. So, he shouts us out a lot, so I thought I'd give his stuff a shout out as well.
Nice. Danae, what about you?
What about me? I'm sorry, I fell asleep. What?
Do you have any keeping tabs?
My keeping tabs is about, just go with it, because I did have to look up the what a PlayStation was valued at in the year that the movie was released.
Yeah, it was a PlayStation 3, right?
But then I had to also make sure that the movie was released in 2011, so it would have been the true cost of a PlayStation at that time. So, which is about $250 is kind of what I landed. And maybe he would have bought a used one, but he was also a plastic surgeon, so probably not. And then he mentions like 4 or 5 games, and they've always cost around $60, which is sort of how I came to inflate the amount that the boy was worth, which again, just a reminder, he offered to give him a PlayStation and several games. So where the other girl wanted to have acting lessons and like $600, and he talked her down, but then he offers this for the boy. So that was just interesting. It's also interesting to note that games have always kind of kept their value. They've usually always been around $60.
We're getting a good deal now.
They're going up though. Did you know with the new Xbox and PlayStation coming out this fall, the games are going to go up to like 70 or 75.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
This will be the first increase in like 15 or 20 years.
Yeah. So it was just an interesting little like peek down Sony lane.
Kind of like Adam Sandler was peeking down on Jennifer Aniston and Brooklyn's Deckers.
Yes,
and I think PlayStation's about to come out with a new one. Like I think the PS5's about to come out.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be like $500, $400, something like that.
It's going to be about $500. So it's interesting too to see that the cost of the materials and everything. So
very good, very good. Let's move on to the comment section.
I want to know what you're thinking.
I appreciate your honesty. You're a real straight shooter.
You are the ones who are the ball lickers.
We're each going to talk about a comment from the week's videos. Mine was already stolen, so I got nothing to talk about because I thought that 2 sins for each glance was just a genius comment. I guess I could also mention there were a lot of comments in the Avatar video about the previously on sin, where it was like, don't you understand? It was for kids. It was week to week. It was Yeah. Yes. Yes, I do. That's why the sin was phrased the way it was, where I forgot what I was talking about because my point was I hate them, but they're needed. That was the whole point of the narrator.
You were making fun of yourself.
I know. It was
absolutely.
I'm reading that stuff and I'm like, did you listen to the whole sin? Because that's kind of the point. Anyways, it was kind of one of those moments. So maybe I can.
No, because I remember when I was reading the script and I was starting to read that sin, I was thinking, I need to note something on this because I think, and never mind. Okay, I got it now. Like thinking ahead about what I'm going to write a note on.
Yeah, exactly. What about you guys, Jonathan? What do you have in the comment section?
The only one I had, this was actually on regular show, but I just thought this was cool that this person shouted it out. Kyle Clark said, "I hereby use my first magic to resurrect music from behind." Seriously, that shit was legit, and we agree. I mean, I agree. It
hasn't been canceled.
Is first magic something that started when we started talking about that time that I commented on somebody using their
it only works the first time? I thought that's what it was referencing.
That means that person listens to BTS, right?
I don't know. I assumed that, or they had seen that comment. I don't know.
Right.
I guess it's possible that's something that eventually happened. That's the thing on the regular show when I was getting confused because I did read, that was the only one. I read some comments on that because they were pretty nice and stuff. But like you guys were saying that your mom and all that stuff, like I assume this is stuff that happens on the show, but didn't happen in the pilot. So I was kind of confused. And
Same.
Oh, no. It doesn't have to be that. It could also be the idea of the first person to comment on something has a magical power.
Right, the first magic. Okay, that makes sense.
I think they were a very early commenter, and so that's their first magic. I think that could be it. Danae, what's yours?
Actually, last week, there's a woman named Mona Teasley or something, and it was on the Avatar one, and commented, "I'm so proud of my profile pic because it was a picture of the duck turtle." Like her profile picture on YouTube is of the duck turtle.
Scram
and she's
Crackers,
And so Scram Crackers was relevant. And I forgot to mention that one. So I just want to do a shout out to last week because now here, Scram Crackers, we actually see where her avatar came from. Nice. I thought that was pretty cool. On Zuko alone, Eric Schuler says, all I know is that means there are multiple flavors of bacon, referencing like the bacon sin. That everything happened to be like combined with a pig on this episode for some reason. So Eric says, finally, someone else acknowledges this fact. It's no wonder Sokka is such a diehard carnivore. The sheer culinary opportunities in Avatar have me drooling at the mouth with 2 knives in hand. I love the idea of someone literally watching Avatar just getting hungry all the time.
We did Pokemon Top Chef. Maybe it should be Avatar Top Chef. Maybe
or both.
Yeah,
or both. Those are all tasty creatures.
I'm telling you, I wasn't kidding when I said, it was like how people left Avatar sad that world didn't exist. That's the bacon thing.
Hey,
that's
by
it.
the way,
part of it.
I don't need multi-flavored bacon. I mean, bacon is kind of perfect, so I don't know why we're flavoring it.
You know what? So is ice cream, but there are many great flavors. Like,
it's true. It's true. Also, super quick shout out on Twitter to Chris E. O'Neill, who said that Aaron's suggestion about Showbiz Kids had him like choked up and moved. So thanks for that.
Good. Excellent. Very cool. Well, let's move on to Beyond the Sins.
To infinity and beyond.
Somewhere beyond my wild history.
To boldly go where no man has gone before.
We're just going to chat about something else we've been watching in the world recently. Today, do you want to go first? You're nodding your head.
Yeah. Well, I was excited because I'm going to do something I think is okay. I want to revisit one that I recommended a few weeks back called The Dragon Prince.
Nope, not okay. Sorry, you have to pick something else.
You can do it however you want. You're Beyond the Sins.
Yeah, go ahead.
At the time, I'd only seen a few episodes, and now I've watched all 3 seasons that have come out. So I just wanted to kind of more fully go back and say that I still think I would recommend this one to most people. There is something I find annoying about it, and that's the music. This is it boldly believes it is a epic show. Like the music is epic adventure music. It's like boldly epic adventure music. And sometimes I find it to be a little distracting. It's almost like it's its own character, and sometimes it's like, okay, calm down. You're like so into yourself. Just like calm down.
Yeah.
That's a little distracting to me, but I've been really impressed, I think, with where the story is trying to go. It does remind me of Avatar, not only because it has books like Avatar does, but it seems like it's going to hit some of those same notes of trying to find out, like, is the bad guy really a bad guy? What are the redemption stories? Because at this point in time, we don't know the end of the story, so we're kind of guessing at where certain things are going to develop. It has a youth love to it. There's a couple of characters that are actually like making a kind of a love connection. So that's got that youth. I think I would have loved this show when I was, a teenager. Nice. So, and I think that they're doing it in a really appropriate way. They're showing like youth emotions in an appropriate way. Then there's like different levels of children too. There's like a really young one. Then there's some that are maybe 12 or 13. Then you've got some that are maybe 17, 18. Then you've got parents. You've got aunts and uncles too. There's like really a lot of levels of age and maturity, and the way that they're handling how each of them would be interacting with each other is actually really kind of smart and well done. I mentioned before a deaf character. I want to just really briefly touch on that again. There are entire scenes where they continue to just show her speaking with zero interpretation. So unless I go into like forums to figure out what she said, I have no idea what's going on. And I think that's really brave when a show does that. There's also an introduction of a character who has a disability that's like a surprise reveal. I love that too. So there's like a lot of representation. There's different kinds of love representation in this as well, along with a good story, something that's really unique. A lot of questions about, morality and stuff. So I'm super into it, and I'm definitely going to keep watching it all the way to the end. So I just wanted to kind of touch back on that one and say, I think it's one that has something going for it that is, impressive to me.
Very nice.
Do the animals look good enough to eat though? That seems to be the selling point on some of these shows. Do you want to eat the animals?
They are really, really pretty. So no.
They look tasty. What's gonna after my thing last week too, where I said something and then found out like after I got off that had been changed. You're gonna get off today. It's like an hour later. Netflix is canceled.
Oh God.
You will never know what happened. Is it on Netflix though? It's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of those bummer things where I super binged it, just like I did Kipo and the Age of the Wonder Beast, and so now it's just I have to freaking wait until they come out with their next season.
Can you imagine?
Sucks.
I would think animation though would be something that's still being worked on, right? I mean, or it can be.
I bet
people can draw from.
There's a magical item in this show that has multiple sides. It's a cube, and if I'm reading the world correctly, I think each book is going to be an element that's represented on one of the sides of that cube. So we've got 3 seasons, so I'm thinking there's going to be 3 more, but I'm not sure.
Oh, interesting. So that's Dragon Prince on Netflix.
Yes, that's the Dragon Prince on Netflix.
What about you, Jonathan?
I watched, I don't know how many people are going to be able to watch this, but it was so interesting. I just still wanted to talk about it. Yesterday on Shudder, the AMC Shudder streaming service, they dropped a movie called Host. And it is one of the first, if not the first, although it's only 60 minutes, but they're calling it a feature. So the 60 minutes, by the way, total positive about this movie. But it is a shot in quarantine horror movie. The entire movie, I believe, except for maybe a couple of seconds at the beginning, takes place on a Zoom call.
Okay.
And it's very similar. Aaron and I, we send Unfriended.
Yeah, we sure did.
It's similar in vein to that. What?
I just said we sure did.
Like he's like, we sure did.
So no, I didn't know if you had something funny about Unfriended, but I was just curious. But anyway, so yeah, we did Unfriended, which is it's very similar. I will say one thing this has over Unfriended though is like I liked these people. I did not like the people in Unfriended very much.
Right.
And
yeah.
Not that I want people to die, but like I was definitely a little more frightened when it got down to these people being in trouble. So what happens is you have a group of it's like I believe it's 5 women, and then there's a guy that joins too, and they're doing a Zoom call, and they have decided, I guess because they're bored, I don't know, everybody's in quarantine. There is open discussion about Corona in this movie, so I mean this is very much an in the moment kind of thing that was shot. And it was they decided to have a seance on Zoom, and they even get this I don't even know what do you call that, like a mystic or whatever, like a woman that does like a psychic or whatever, a woman that does seances, a seancer. A medium, thank you. God, I couldn't think of that.
Or in some cases, an extra large, but continue.
Yeah. So she comes on and then they do the seance. And then because of something one character specifically does, I won't give away what it is, or what happens, but they end up contacting someone or something, and shit be crazy after that. But no, this was a very effective little movie, man. It really works. And like I said, that 60 minutes is really cool because it doesn't waste time with anything,
sure.
right? It just jumps right in and it tells its story and it's moving the whole time, and it's quite a bit of fun. There's really good suspense in this movie. It was directed by Rob Savage. He's a British filmmaker. I don't know much about him other than this. It was written by Gemma Hurley, and it's I don't know if I want to see a bunch of movies about Corona and stuff, even though I know we're going to get them. But it is really interesting, and it does beyond the horror movie plot line. There's a lot of subtext there. There's a lot of things about the people that do believe what's going on is really happening, and there's people that don't believe it. Like they kind of use all that and just other things about being in quarantine, being stuck in a house maybe with somebody that you don't necessarily want to be stuck in a house with. There's like all these kinds of different things that are, going on in real life right now are kind of thrown into this horror movie story. And it's pretty fascinating, and it's well worth the watch if you already subscribe to Shudder. I believe they're still offering a free month trial, so you could do like the trial and watch this. There's a lot of other things on there that are worth watching too, but I highly recommend this. I was surprised. It had been getting a good word of mouth, but sometimes with horror movies these days, I don't know what that's going to entail. But it was my kind of supernatural movie. Let's put it that way.
Cool. So that's on Shudder. And
it's on Shudder. It's called
Host. I think you're right. I think we will start getting more COVID movies. Mm-hmm. And I think they'll probably increase exponentially. But you won't necessarily know if you get them or not for about 14 days. So
there's even this one scene where and it's just something that's like so common now, but like I wouldn't have thought about it before. But like there's like this one scene where this woman decides she has to go outside, and so she leaves the room and comes back and she's got a mask on, and it's one of those things that like that's what life is, right? Like that's just the norm. That's like putting a hat on or whatever, putting a raincoat on if it's raining, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see how like even little things like that, I think we're going to see more in movies, even if the movie itself isn't about that.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
I'm going to talk about something that I've been binging recently. It is MTV's The Challenge. This is a game show / reality show that MTV started in the early 2000s as kind of another way to use their Real World and Road Rules cast from back in the day. And so originally this was called the Real World Road Rules Challenge, and they would take members from Real World cast and members from Road Rules cast.
Oh, I remember this. I remember that. I don't watch The Challenge, but I remember that. I didn't know this was the same thing.
Yeah, so that's the origin, is they would take them and they would have them compete in these challenges for money. The first, I think, 4 seasons, there was no like overall winner. It was just kind of like fun little challenges each week, and they would have prizes, that kind of stuff. But then
people would hook up.
Yes. Starting in season 5, it became more of a competition show, and then I think season 35 is what they were on this past season. So this has been going on for a long time, almost as long as Survivor. It kind of started around the same time as Survivor, which was 99. So it's been interesting because I kind of wanted to watch it for the Survivor element of it, because I love reality competition. I'm not a huge fan of reality drama where it's like the draw is the shouting matches and the he said, she said, and the yelling at each other and the hooking up and the partying and that kind of stuff. That is very much an element of this show, especially at the beginning, because that was kind of an MTV staple, for those shows. What I'm really liking about it that I wasn't expecting is how they use basically the same cast every year. So like there's half the cast comes back for the very next challenge, and this continues on. So you start to develop actual characters over the years in this show and how well they're doing. And I was trying to think of like if Survivor brought half the cast back every year, how it would be different. And I don't know, it makes for really interesting competition in some ways because you've got a lot of history to these players as they're playing each other.
Survivor's kind of doing that a little more now, though, right? Like they are occasionally bringing back one or two people, and like I know they have like their specific seasons that are like all stars, and I know they did that one recently. But I'm saying, but haven't they brought people back more often than they used to?
Yeah, they will. They do it sporadically, and if for Survivor, it's more of just kind of like a special treat kind of thing. But here it's kind of baked in, which I don't know, I found really interesting and really enjoyed. So it's I don't know, anytime you go back, and I think I talked about Top Chef too, maybe not here, maybe elsewhere, that I've been watching some of those old seasons. But it's one of those things to go back in history and watch reality competition shows. I never thought that would be a fun thing to do, and it's one of my favorite things. And I think part of it also has to do with the time machine aspect of it, and the idea that I'm watching them battle out for this. I forget what it was called, but it was basically a device where you could watch digital movies. Can you imagine that? Like an actual device that you could hold in your hand. Like, because it's before the iPhone for sure, and definitely before phones were able to do everything. So like, it was funny. I told my wife they had for one of the prize packages, it was like a Rio MP3 player, a Nikon camera, a phone, and like all these things. I was like, that's one device now. GPS, like it was like this whole package of stuff, and it was like, yeah, I've got that in my pocket. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Because I told you, I think I've mentioned this to you. I stopped watching Survivor very early. Like I watched the first 2 seasons, and I think I didn't even make it all the way through season 3. Yeah. But then CBS All Access has every season.
Yeah, it does.
So I haven't been binging, but I think I'm like on season 6 now. So
nice.
I've been watching it though, and it's been fascinating watching it early on. Obviously, Survivor's not using technology and stuff, but it's just fascinating to watch like that mindset. And also, you're still watching people that like, because I remember the first Survivor All Stars thing. The thing I found most interesting about that was these are people that became popular doing a reality show, right? And like that was a new concept at that time, that like you could actually become famous, like the Kardashians and stuff like that. And you could actually make a living off being a reality star. You know, that was such a foreign concept.
Well, and especially
at that time,
especially with the challenge when you're doing it every year. Yeah. If you win the 50,000 or 100,000 a year, I mean, that's a salary. Right? Like, and if you're doing it every year, so.
And then I'm sure they do other things, promotional things that get them money. But I've never watched an episode of that. I did watch Road Rules Real World Challenge, I think, maybe one season, but I never have watched it since. I know Barrett's a big fan of it. I think he's watched like just about every season.
Yeah, I think he has.
But he's a Real World fan too. Like he's been a fan of all that stuff from the get-go. But these are the same people every year, basically, right? Like they'll get a new one.
Not, like I said, I think it's about half the cast comes back, and then some people will come back 2 years later. And a lot of times you'll notice like the winner of the previous year doesn't come back the next year, probably because they don't need the money at that point. And then
or they don't want to lose because they've already won. That's interesting. I mean, there is something about it that's kind of fascinating. Are the challenges like actually like real? Like
yes, and that's what I love. They are legitimate physical challenges, and for me, that's the part I love. I love the actual like reality competition part of it. So that's what I'm cool. Enjoying.
And they also do like puzzles and stuff there, right? Like kind of more like mind challenges.
Yep. Yeah, and it also changes up the format pretty much every year. So like whereas Survivor, part of the beauty is that the game stays somewhat the same, and then they'll add little twists in here and there. The game completely changes in this year to year. Like the whole point of the game will change one season to the next. So it's really interesting.
And aren't they like they're drinking a ton and stuff too, right?
That is the other element of it. Oh my goodness, there is so much debauchery. It is definitely part of the show.
That makes the challenges more interesting though, right? Because it's like, how are you doing this?
Where did you say you were watching it?
So Pluto TV is where a lot of the old seasons are available, and then the newer seasons are available through Amazon, MTV, The Hits. It's like $7 a month, and you can watch a lot of the newer episodes there.
But yeah, and then behind the scenes, Aaron and Barrett are bonding over this show. So that's pretty fun to watch. That's a fun thing to watch. They're going to start their own challenge.
Yes, it's happening. Definitely.
Man, just don't think I'm going to participate. I don't like competition.
See, but it already works too. You got the Barrett Shares versus the Aaron Dicers. See, I mean, that's like, those sound like team names.
It's the A team, B team challenge.
Does sound like, yeah, it's not going to go well for the B team. I'm just glad you guys know you're on your own.
I can't do it because I don't drink anymore, and I don't do physical activity. So
perfect.
I'm just kidding.
Perfect. It's all coming together. It's all coming together. That's going to wrap it up for Behind the Sins this week. Don't forget to make sure you're subscribed. Go ahead and leave a comment or rating as well. You can also hang out with us on Twitter. We are at CinemaSins BTS on Twitter. I am at Aaron Dicer. She is at Danae Says.
DENEESAYS.
And he is at Sam Loomis 13. So for Jonathan Watkins, Danae Hughes, and myself, we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Send any feedback to bts@cinemasins.com. And be sure to subscribe, rate, and comment. Find more ways to connect by visiting cinemasins.com/BTS.
So on the list of random things that's in my recording closet today, I have a vacuum cleaner in here today.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Look how proud I am of this thing.
That looks like a nail gun combined with a vacuum cleaner. Is that like a handheld trigger?
Yeah.
What is that thing? It's amazing.
It is amazing.
It looks like a gun, like a vacuum gun.
Here, I'll unhook the little attachment. Yeah, see?
Yeah, it does. It doesn't look like a vacuum.
That's like if a dustbuster busted souls.
So then check out this. I mean, God, how boring am I? Look at my vacuum cleaner attachment, guys.
Well, I'm never buying a vacuum cleaner again. I'm just borrowing the Hughes.
Dude, this thing is amazing. I had this one attachment on it, and I was doing a small area rug that we keep in our bathroom, and we've never vacuumed it. It's been a long time. Yeah. I got probably a third of a cup of fine gray dust out of this vacuum cleaner.
Wow.
And that kind of freaks me out, genuinely. It was a lot. But what was crazy about it is the suction on this thing was so much. It was like a workout. I had to have 1 foot on the far left of the rug, 1 foot on the far right of the rug. So I'm kind of like straddling it. And then it was like a workout to go like with my arms and just pull the vacuum across the rug.
Wow.
But after that, I got so much stuff out of there. It was crazy. A little unnerving. Yeah. Anyway, that's the story. That's today's random thing in Danae's recording closet.
That's amazing.
My mother-in-law got us a Roomba for Christmas a couple years ago. So I just have that going 3 or 4 times a week, especially since I work at home.
We thought about getting a Roomba. There's a couple reasons we decided not to right now. Like, I think I'm going to wait until I'm very wealthy.
And that's what I say. Ours is a present. I don't think we would have bought one. Like, I don't think that's something we just would have bought on our own.
If you're very wealthy, why don't you just hire someone? Someone probably could use that job.
If I was very wealthy, I would have a live-in house cleaner.
Yeah.
I mean,
wow.
Well, I mean, they would have if I was very wealthy, like I would have guest houses and shit. So we would just hire people that not necessarily live in, but maybe people that would be there during the day to take care of things.
It would be full on Downton Abbey at my house. Like if I were wealthy, we'd be providing jobs for dozens of people.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're providing jobs, right? I don't think that's rude.
No, yeah, you have to in some ways. Haven't you watched Downton Abbey? You have to maintain that old way of doing things so people don't lose their jobs.
So like I was just thinking about my problem being that when I go look at the Roomba website, I automatically want to get the most expensive one. I do this with laptops. Mm-hmm. I do this with a lot of things where...
What's the low end on Roombas? Like $100?
A couple $100. But then like on the high end, for example, you've got maybe a $600 vacuum cleaner or more.
I don't think that's what we have.
And those are the ones where you can go on an app and you can map out your house perfectly so they know exactly, and you can tell the vacuum cleaner what room to go to.
Yeah, no, we don't have that one.
But that's my problem. My problem is like that's the one that I'm like, ooh, that's the one that I want. And you guys are like, you know what? If I was wealthy, I wouldn't get the expensive Roomba. I'd buy people.
No, you're not buying people. You're hiring people that are looking for work.
There are many things I will stand for in the recording of these outtakes, Danae. But accusations of slavery is not one of them. Man,
I remember. So I did not come from wealth, but I I would say that if you compare it to other places, I definitely came from wealth.
Yeah, it's all a matter of perspective.
It's all a matter of perspective. I moved into a school district that was like a wealthier school district. And before the people that I went to school with, specifically the girls, realized that I was not wealthy, I was invited to a lot of birthday parties at their mansions. And there was this one birthday party I attended where the girls' bedroom had a small balcony that overlooked their indoor pool.
Nice.
And it was that house and a couple of others that really kind of made me realize that I was a very different, I had a very different upbringing.
Did you stand on the balcony and say, I am a golden god? Did you do that?
I don't even know what that's referencing,
okay,
but
fair
yes,
enough.
I said it anyway. Let's just pretend.
You say that though, and I would, if I could give that to my daughter, I would do it. I mean, that would be awesome. But then other people will take that as you'd be spoiling her, but whatever.
Right. There's this really interesting thing we do about judging other people's situation on both ends, right? Like it's one of those ways we compare ourselves to each other and somehow put monetary value into some sort of blender equation of human value, and that's just where it gets all messed up. And it's just like, and it goes both ways. There's a very much an eat the rich mentality right now, which is nobody should be rich, right? Nobody should have money. Nobody should, earn more than anybody else. I get where that comes from, but I think there's a balance somewhere where we have to stop using the idea of resources as the idea of value. The problem is resources often equal power, and that's where the problem comes in with that power dynamic. But yeah, it's I have lived in a 700 square foot home with 4 children and a dog. A tiny little 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house, and we were as happy as could be. You know what I mean? Like there's just, it's just.
I don't believe you, but sure.
Well, I'm just saying there is an understanding of your situation does not define who you are, and it also. I also understand that I come from a place of privilege where I can work my way out of that much easier than some other people can. And so there's an understanding of both things where it's like, the distribution of resources is valuable and interesting, but how it happens is also important and part of what freedom is and what it means to have a free economy. All that stuff it's important to balance out, and sometimes we get lost in the edges and forget about the balance.
I have this, all these cords sort of bunched up under my table where I have my broadcasting stuff, and they all just kind of slowly have been loosening. And I have my little dog bed underneath my recording table as well. And Reese's was down there just like chill, and then all of a sudden all the cords just went and like fell all over him.
Sorry, Reese's.
Oopsie. Guys, that was me. You can't be in here if you're gonna be like that. You guys, I'm serious. You can't be in here if you're gonna be like that. Hey, I'm serious.
You sound serious.
I think I'm probably
Danae.
him.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Danae, barking at dogs who are barking probably not the greatest way to get them to calm down.
Hey, listen, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah, you know the language.
Don't tell me how to raise my dogs.
Don't tell me. I'm not asking on the internet for your opinions.
That's a good. You make a good point though. Never, and I wouldn't. I can't imagine like putting a question, especially on Twitter.
Oh God, no. If I have a question about something, I call people that I admire who have raised children, grown children that I admire their children. Hey, how did you talk to them about this or something? That's my plan. Is I like how your kids are. How did you approach this thing? You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah.
Well, I thought I could use Aaron for that, but now that I found out he's a liar and says that he was happy in a 700 square foot home, with,
can't trust him.
I mean, so he's a liar. So
it's done.
I wish he wasn't a liar.
I need you guys to tell me it's okay to not address this mess right now.
You don't have to address it right now today.
You have to.
Can you be friends to me and help me? Because I'm like, I'm
By the way,
into this place.
For those listening in the outtakes, Danae is talking about her hair. And just wants to know it's okay that, it's not looking all perfect today. Oh, you were talking about the cords, the electric cords. Sorry, Danae. I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah, I love being painted and like that I care about my hair. That's great.
You don't. That's why it's funny. It's amazing. Although it looks great, by the way. It doesn't look bad. Hey, Danae, in all seriousness, put it down.
I'm genuinely struggling.
No, put it down.
I think if I get something like this, I could just like hang it off of it.
Maybe not when we're recording though.
And I just need to get it I just need to go get like some tools.
Yeah,
and,
later.
Like, an anchor.
Later.
Since last we recorded a week ago, Iris has developed a very distinct Southern accent.
Nice.
She's playing around with how she says things, and so I think it's super normal, and I'm not worried about it. But she says "kayet," "nayo." She's adding all these extra syllables into stuff, and we have no idea where it came from. So yes, I'm guessing she's watching some show or something. Like there's something that had to trigger it, and I don't know what it is. I've been.
Is she watching Peppa Pig yet?
No. Wait.
My daughter developed like a little British accent.
No.
Because of
she
Peppa
doesn't have a
Pig.
British accent. It's straight like deep Southern right now.
As long as she's not proclaiming the love of her heritage through a certain flag, I think you're going to be okay. Like, just be, as long as it doesn't get that Southern.
What's interesting is there's myself, my mother, and then her. So Iris has two grandmas and myself, and we're all like acting concerned that she's like, why is she changing how she's talking? And then after about 2 or 3 days, I was like, why am I worried about this? This is just her experimenting with language. And so I encouraged her grandmothers to also stop worrying about it. My mom was over spending some time with her last night, and Iris was saying everything with all these extra syllables. And my mother is making faces like, ugh, like, oh, like it's offensive to her. Why is that so offensive to you? Like, it's fine. She's just playing with her language. That's it.
Yeah, that's what they do.
She's not cussing. She's not, I don't know. It's just interesting perception, isn't it?
She will be soon, though. She will be soon.
Oh, she's already said a couple things, and I've been so proud of myself because I didn't respond to her at all. Because there was one day we jumped into the back of the car with the dogs, and the dogs jumped in, and I called them like I said, get in the front seat, little piddle shits, and I didn't realize what I'd said. And she started giggling, and so I realized I had to be really, really careful. And then within like 2 minutes, what did I say? Something that rhymed, which is the worst. It's the worst when you rhyme your curse words.
Oh, because that'll be fun for them.
Yeah, I think I said, quit that shit. That's what I said. Quit that shit. And she goes, and so then later on, she said something to the tune of that. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've never heard that before. I just totally just like moved on. And then she said, damn it, the other day. Clear as a bell. And I looked at her and I was like, oh, what was that you said? And she repeated it. And I was like, whoa, wham it, bam it, slam it, gram it. And we just played a rhyming game right afterwards just to sort of like disperse.
Yeah.
And I looked at Jess, I was like, do not react. Don't
when they're that age, you can do that. Like when she gets
attention.
to be like 8 or 9, you just kind of have to be,
I'm going to have to own it. When she's 8 or 9, I'm going to have to own it.
Some of those words too, though, I wonder how they became bad. Like I've always been curious about that. Like I get like, I get why stuff like God damn it and Jesus Christ, like that's, and then obviously derogatory stuff, which isn't even cursing. That's a whole other thing. It's horrible. But I don't know, just like fucking shit. Like here in Tennessee, high school football coaches are actually illegal. They're actually allowed to say shit because that's been claimed as Southern terminology. It's Southern slang. Like that's an actual rule on the books that somebody took the time.
We can curse
to vote on.
please stop adding me. I can curse.
I think we have wandered into a part of this conversation that I can actually join in on. So the idea of the F word, the S word is just because it's about stuff that people think is rude to talk about. And so it's the vulgarity of it. Like if you look up the definition of vulgarity, it's the idea of speaking things that shouldn't be spoken. And so that's kind of what it is.
So I guess it's the chicken before the egg, right? Like so fuck has always been a terminology towards like a terminology of sex. It's never been like that just became a terminology of sex.
Right. You'll see a very similar progression with the word bug in the English language, in the old English language, where bugger that's where it came from, the idea of, buggering someone or that kind of thing. And then eventually it just became a curse word.
Ooh, I like mother bugger better.
Mother bugger.
Start using it. But again, eventually it became a curse word that became so ubiquitous that you hear it in words like booger, like the little thing in your nose is a little booger. You hear it in words like a bug, a little thing that flies around you, bugs you. So it's just kind of the way the terminology has progressed is is really interesting. They're all just sounds. But
isn't bloody like British slang? Isn't bloody the one that's like the goddamn it basically? Like isn't that referring
it's
to
the granddaddy.
Jesus?
Yeah, it's the the blood of Christ. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's referring to, right? That's why it's bad.
Yes. So yeah,
or it's
sacrilegious or whatever.
Sacrilegious. Yeah, not bad. I shouldn't say bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a fascinating thing to explore, and I have done my exploration of it as someone who just has never really partaken in it. So it's been interesting.
I remember like one of the first things you said when I met, like when we started emailing, like all of us, like when we both started writing for CinemaSins, was one of the first things you said was, "I'm not good at cursing." I just want you guys to know that.
It's actually funny because there's been sometimes whenever Aaron has changed some of how the cursing is whenever it gets to the the editing process, and I'll watch it when we do our editing notes. I'll watch it and be like, "No, that's lame now," and I have him taken out. That's happened twice.
Well, and I'm used to writing for Jeremy, and that's pretty much he's got a few things that like he doesn't want to talk about. He's got some things he said like I would rather do it this way, but like he'll say stuff like Jesus and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't even think about the fact. And then Aaron changed one of my Jesuses to G's, and I didn't really think about it. But then Chris wrote like, "I get why this was changed to G's, so let's just change it in the text. It's fine." And then I was like, "Wait, why was it?" I was like, "Oh yeah, Aaron would not want to say that."
Right.
So now I don't write that in my scripts that are specifically for Aaron.
I try to slide in something that I think Aaron would be uncomfortable with saying every script just to try to see how much he'll squirm. That's not true.
This is good because we've been asked about this, and so I think this is a good, hearing the outtakes or whatever is a good place to explore it. But it's been interesting to me to distinguish between what is an actual moral choice of mine and what is just, a built-in discomfort of programming of my youth, right? Like there's as a mid 40s
it's like
guy,
it's like the alcohol of cussing for you.
Yeah, I mean, kind of.
Because we talked about that last time, right?
Right.
Like,
yeah. No, I know.
That you had a pride thing with it.
I want you to know, I totally respect that. Like, I'm not making fun or anything.
Oh no, I don't feel that at all.
And a lot of the writing we have to figure out. Like it's it's hard to switch from writing in Jeremy's voice because we didn't know what your voice was going to be at that point either.
Right. I think we're starting to figure it out. It's
for sure now. Yeah, no, I think
it's feeling more and more comfortable every script. So I had to kind of draw some of those lines and go, okay, what am I morally, what are my true? Because I do believe words are important. I believe the words we use do communicate things, and what we communicate can be important. And for me, it kind of came down to are the words I'm communicating now or ever going to be able to be derogatory towards a specific group? That's really important to me. So, for instance, you won't hear me say, and I will say the word, talking about it, but you won't hear me say the word bitch in a script. Because that is a commonly associated female-specific term that has been used through history to be derogatory towards women.
You don't hear it as much anymore either.
So, it's one of those things where for me, I want to stay away from something because there are words that plenty of people used, not meaning them in any certain way, that eventually was, as we grew up as a society and as a culture, we realized, we shouldn't use the R word. But I'm telling you, when I was growing up, even, the quote unquote good kids used that word just as a way to say you're dumb or you're stupid or whatever. And they didn't mean it that way if they would have taken a second to stop and think about it. And so I'm just trying to take that second to stop and think about it and go, does this word hurt someone? Can it hurt someone? And so those are the words I'm trying to stay away from. When it's non-group specific, I think I'm relaxing. I'm saying asshole in the scripts, which is not a word I use in my day-to-day life. I'm saying, dams or whatever the case may be. But it's because I think the narrator would say those words. So making those decisions has been a really fascinating exploration of my own ethical, moral dilemmas. It has been at times very emotional for me, and I didn't expect that.
Chris and I did a movie from the early 2000s where gay was thrown around.
Yeah.
In bad, and not referring to homosexuals.
Yeah.
Just that's gay, that kind of thing. And it was. In fact, Chris wrote an outstanding sin about it that I can't wait till we talk about that movie. But so it's interesting. It's interesting just even the last 15, 20 years how some of that, or like you think back about how different rap is now versus talk about the word bitch. How different rap is now than it was words,
Well,
in the 90s.
I think of words like sea sucker. That's another word that specifically spring up.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Well,
I really
he doesn't
don't.
want to say it. He doesn't want to say the C word.
Clock. I
thought you were saying SEE, like sea sucker, or SEA or something.
I immediately went to a sea creature for a split second. I was like, a sea sucker? That's an interesting one. I've never heard that.
Okay.
I am not going to say kraken. Fuck you. I'm not saying
I
kraken.
refuse to say octopus.
Let me. This brings, even the fact that I would say sea sucker brings me to something that I think is where I have to fight my own intellectualism, because there's nothing wrong with me saying the word as we're talking about these words, right? Like there's nothing, like we're having a conversation, but there are certain words that hold so much power. We don't say them because we know they're so hurtful. The N-word is an example of that. There are others that I'm sure you can think of. But it's fascinating to me because the intellectual me is like, well, they're just sounds. And if you're not directly hurting someone with them, you may feel like that's okay, but then you might be indirectly hurting some with them. And so it becomes this really not supremely intellectual exercise. It becomes a human exercise. And that's something I'm trying to get better at, is seeing the human aspect of things that I tend to intellectualize. And so for that reason, yes, there are words that I won't say. I'll just change them or whatever, but I'm figuring out what those are. And let me be clear, since I brought up the word bitch, let me be clear that word is also being taken back by women in similar ways that the N-word is being taken back by the black community, in a way that women playfully call each other bitches or whatever. And that's a fully appropriate, in my mind, way to change language and reclaim it. I think that's beautiful, but it has to be owned by that group. You know what I mean? I think we have to be aware that there's an ownership there by the people that those words have hurt and harmed, that they then take ownership of that word and it is theirs now. And as to the question of do I say the F words and the S words in the scripts that are bleeped, we're going to let
the answer is bleep.
Yes, we're going to let that remain a secret. Maybe we'll release the audio someday.
That and Danae's age.
You had a fan freak out moment with somebody in your Dungeons and Dragons group, right?
Oh my God.
They were like,
yeah.
Wait, the CinemaSins? Wait. You write for the CinemaSins. The YouTube CinemaSins? Like the OG YouTube. You write for the CinemaSins.
Yeah.
It was like my guy at the Chevy dealer.
Yeah.
Except in a more interesting context.
My favorite part of that was when he turned to his cousin, who I hang out with. He's my dungeon master. And he was like, how could you not tell me that Danae is the Danae from CinemaSins? And my DM from the game was like, honestly, I didn't realize it was that big of a deal.
All right, let's get started.
Okay, Aaron, fine. Let's start the show. But I just remembered blah, 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 blah.